we know yes it, but face it, that 3-star 4.
Genesis, big talk all about man, Genesis man.
Yes I am.
Stand by for action. Stand by for action.
This is the People Station.
In every region, has a decision to make.
They don't like my songs. Bush came to my yard, he wants to take me on. Phone the most time, I'm like, yo, it's on. Devil's in my face, Bob, don't be long.
All you need is spicy something. Have no fear, my son. My kingdom you own. 400 years, no knowledge of your home. Now is the chance to reclaim the throne.
Okay, Pop, yeah, no doubt. A bunch of bad ones are taking it now. But you records I got weapons, what's he talking about? I don't like the way the devil's running his mouth.
Now watch that, it's just an excuse. See, they don't like you, son, cause you tell the truth.
Hey, yo, Pop, United Nations turned out. They wanna search my yard till I them out.
Nah, son, leave them to me. Now you deal with that portion, call it power factory. I got fire for them bad side for those who oppose me. Hurricane, tornadoes, earthquakes, you'll see.
Exodus, the devil we no like. We left from Rome upon the starline. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we left upon the black starline. Exodus, the devil we no like. We left from Rome upon the starline. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we left upon the black starline.
I'm interested in the truth, and the truth is what I will pursue.
We have to recognize who our major enemy is.
The biggest challenge before you right now is, who is the enemy?
Life is becoming increasingly miserable for everybody. But when they find out who it is, it's causing trouble.
I will tell you what the mainstream media will not tell you.
The Jewish people control the media.
People need to get out of denial very quickly. As your children are being poisoned, you're being poisoned. Children are being indoctrinated and programmed and turned into software programs at school. You're being poisoned in the air. You've been poisoned from the sky, poisoned in your food, poisoned in your water, poisoned by vaccine. How bad does it have to get before people in vast numbers realize that the world ain't like they thought it was?
I'm talking to you.
The principle and the idea was divide and rule, divide and conquer.
$1 billion a week spent on war. 15 million Americans are homeless in the streets. We can build Iraq and Afghanistan, but leave you with nothing.
You have to come together. There has to be a foundation of unity before you to get anywhere, especially if you're black in this country.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth. Nothing more.
I want you to hear me. Speak the truth regardless of circumstance and stand up on the truth from the cradle to the grave.
Rebels on some dirty way. Yeah, a murder was the case they gave. And it was just the other day when they stepped out the court cause man in caves. The murder's undercover blood. But guess what? They slipped up. The people are starting to wake up. And as soon as we get together, they ain't here to apologize for the outcry while we're on the genocide. Till today, from the time we arrived, Mother Africa is still dripping blood from her eyes. Ain't super turning around my words. I'ma tell the truth till it hurts. And I'ma keep spinning up to the beats. But right now, I'ma drop the truth on the verse. And I'ma dismiss unrighteousness. My backside, they can kiss, they can't answer this. I got a long list of brains with power and fists who insist government's taking a piss.
Exodus, the devil we no like. We were left from Rome upon the starline. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we left upon the black starline. Exodus, the devil we no like. We were left from Rome upon the starline. Sir Marcus Garvey upon my mind. So we left upon the black starline.
Yo, come let me bust the things for all you hustling. I might scuff your Timbs how I'm busting in the fight. I'm struggling on some other thing. Head wrap and skull cap. I call my brother king. Work running and you know that. It's like a prison wing. How we keep the show pack. I don't hold back. Radio, play my whole track. Most cats listen close as phone taps. There's no black in the Union Jack. Britain. Flows pierce ears like guns with studs in them. Count bars like you're stuck in prison. Count scars in a body that's slug ridden. It's the fusion of the ease, bruise and ganja, giving these youths delusions of grandeur. And only a few who've left to have a stretch on the psychiatric wing return to the manor. I'm the one that rap for them people suffering. Try function in a world that's got no love for them. But enough of them would rather vote for Big Brother than both of them hypocrites that's in the government. Well, f*** them then. It's Emmanuel and Brother Bed.
Yeah. Exodus, the devil.
Your entire life. There's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there. Like a splinter.
You think the US don't have weapons of mass destruction?
It's a general idea. I'm organized.
Jumbo, Otet, peace, Salamo, this is Genesis Radio. My name is Sraight. This is the late night service, as you know how we do between the hours of 10 and beyond. And I want to big up Tony Mix, as you know, he's here, regular DJs, really giving you some vibrations. As you know, it's different genre of music, and I hope really that you enjoyed it. And just keep it locked here on www.genesisradio.co.uk. Keep the vibes going and flowing with the musical vibrations and the conversations and the many things that we need to be looking at here on Genesis Radio. I want to big up the family, D-Roll, Big Stepper, Mama Stepper, Ross Wanda, all the DJs and radio presenters out there. You know what Genesis is all about. And we'll big up the Genesis audience every time, the regulars, as you know, North, South, East and West London. And looking at things on a wider scale from the whole of England, British Isles, Scotland, Ireland, Wales. And, you know, we're looking at ourselves as a group of people, as you know, that we always have to focus on the things that we need to be looking at and the things that we need to be doing here in the present. So now we're transitioned into 2019. I know a lot of people don't want to celebrate it. And that's down to you, really, you know what I'm saying? No one can't tell you what to do, you know what I'm saying? Yeah? I think that, if anything, every day is a celebration, you know, if you want to celebrate life, you know what I'm saying? And I want to say, rather willing that you're in good health, in the best of spirits, and life is definitely treating you well. And, you know, we want to definitely look about how can we do the best for our people from the time that we have, the little time that we have here, and, you know, build a better future for our children and our future generations, okay? And there's always good things going on, yeah, no matter what anybody wants to say, but obviously there's a lot of things that's going on that shouldn't be happening. And we have to weigh up the good things with the bad things and all of this stuff, okay? And it depends where you are on that journey, on that road, on that path. And, you know, coming from here on Genesis Radio, we're talking about looking at things from a collective perspective, looking at people on a global world stage, okay, and getting us into a place as best as possible with the way that we have to encourage and we have to inspire and we have to help to support the very things that we need to go forward, okay? So obviously, that's not for everyone, yeah, and I can't speak for everyone. However, we have a love for our people, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, yeah? And I don't try and make any distinctions about our people, no matter where they are, because, you know, the love is just there all the time, right? So I think I'm more or less raring to go. At the moment, I want you to check out this number. You could maybe try it out, okay? Maybe in a little while. Send me a text anyway on 0779 542 9449 and let me know I'm sounding okay. At the moment, it's not wired up to the set, so I've no idea All right, so just give it a little while and I'll find a way to see if I can get that hooked up, all right, somehow, because it's going to be very difficult, but give me some time. But in the meantime, yeah, I want to talk about our story, yeah, and why that's important, why it's relevant to our situation today, yeah, and it's just to get the younger generation to maybe understand certain things, okay? And we continue to talk about this subject that I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks because I need to kind of do this closure on it in a way, but I don't think there will ever be any closure on it because of all the controversial aspects around this whole subject to do with Mr. Maulana Karenga, Kwaanza, and us organization, yeah? And why is that something that people need to understand, okay? Yeah, or need to be aware of. Why is that important? Because it's to do with so much things, connected and related to so many different things, okay, that it encompasses so much things that we need to understand about us as a people and how we operate and function, especially when we're talking about leadership, organizations and movement and the directions that our leadership is going in and the way that our movements are going in, okay? Now, a lot of people may not be interested in all that, yeah? Might not be interested in all this conscious stuff and all this, African center stuff, all this Pan-Africanist stuff. And this whole thing around about liberating ourselves, emancipating ourselves, and when we're talking about reparations and repatriations and things that some of us see as a goal, as an objective to focus on in going forward in the things that we need to be doing. So, yeah, so much things that we need to be looking at, yeah? It's the Black agenda. Yeah, as you know, the Black agenda is about us, how we need to evolve, okay, and continue to evolve around the things that we need to be doing when we're looking at ourselves, okay, when we're focusing on ourselves, okay, more than we focus on everybody else and what they're saying and what they're doing, yeah? And at the same time, we have to be conscious of the fact that, there's other groups of people that's going to be always going to find a way to exploit us, economically, financially, and all these kind of dynamics will affect us as a group of people if we don't realize that we need to control some of the things that we need to control, yeah, rather than there's so much things that's controlling us, okay? When we just really take control of things, yeah, and be able to map out our destiny, our future, plan out some of the things that we can look forward to in the future, okay? And I think it's important that we need to be able to not just say that we're kind of like talking about people in a bad way. No, when we're talking about things, yeah, we're not talking about people in a bad way. We're just talking about people, yeah, that we relate to, yeah, in some form of way, yeah, in the way that we have to communicate. We have to communicate with people across the globe, no matter where we are, okay? And even though we may not see ourselves as one group of people, as one nation of people, yeah, right? There's some of us that just says like, no matter where you are, yeah, your origins, your ancestry, yeah, you as a people that descended from the motherland, okay, right? You can't just minus that. You can't just take it that way, yeah. And it's always going to be there, yeah. It's part of your lineage, your heritage, right? And I think that our culture, which encompasses all these different many things, right, is something that we need to control for ourselves, okay? Whatever is that's important to us, that we need to improve and develop ourselves. These are the things that we need, okay? They can keep all the bad stuff, yeah, and all the rubbish stuff, okay, and the things that's not really going to be helping us, yeah. They can keep all that, but the things that we need to be focused on, all the good things like foods, how important is that? Yeah, so we need to get our foods right. And one of the things I will be talking about as time goes by is how we need to control our foods in the Caribbean and in the continent, the motherland. We not only have to control our food, but we have to control the foods that's coming in these different types of nefarious foods. Yeah. So we need to be really not just conscious, but we need to be sort of proactive, yeah, around some of the things that we need to be doing and getting involved in. Yeah. All right. So let me just stop there. Yeah. I've got an announcement. I mustn't forget, all right, before I move on. And if it's possible, I'll be looking to read out some announcements. Yeah. As per usual, community announcements, all right, about things that's going on. Yeah. And that gives people and allows people the opportunity to be able to, just really network with our people and connect with them and get involved in some way or the other. Okay, and I know that I think more and more people are getting involved. Yeah, and there's like people becoming more and more aware and conscious of themselves and why it's important that we need to put something back into our communities. Okay, and everybody, if we all put a little bit in, yeah, back into our community, right, that will make so much of a difference to everyone's life. We have to take things into consideration that we've got a lot of people with a lot of problems out there, yeah, and I'm not going to be stressing that now, but we have to be, look all around us, just look around how things are. Things are not getting any better as time goes by, yeah, and obviously people's going to say it depends where you are, say Sraight, that's right, yeah. But I'm just saying, just look at other people that may be worse off than you. Yeah. And there's always people that's going to be worse off than us. Yeah. If you look at things in that way. Do you get what I'm saying? And just think about that, that our people shouldn't be in a desperate situation. Yeah. Where we haven't got people out there that can offer them a helping hand. Yeah. Some sort of little support, right? We shouldn't have none of our people out in the streets, yeah, whether they're alcoholic, homeless, or they may be suffering from some mental illness or some sort of stress factor, okay? So we have to be able to be on our guards. And one of the things that I think that we need to be looking at, focusing going forward, is that we need to be looking at simple things like intervention and prevention. Okay. And the more as we go by in time, the more we're going to get to realize that there are people that care about our people, who are genuinely caring about our people. I know there's people out there, they're just like scandalous. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so we have to weigh up all of these things, the good things with the bad things, right? And at the same time, be happy with our life, and be happy with the things that we're doing in life. As long as we're doing good things, we're not hurting nobody, we're not robbing anybody, we're not maiming anybody, and things of that nature. Yeah, you're respecting people, you're being polite, and being honest with people, just being just generally, when we're talking to our brothers and sisters, our people out there, just be kind of mindful, okay, in the way that we need to communicate with each other, yeah, right? And I think that we need to learn how to listen to others as well. Yeah, pay attention to listen to others, okay? And those people that's got strength in whatever areas that you have, then we have to build those people up in those areas and give them strength, okay? And it's about sharing whatever that we got, whatever time, energy, resources, whatever we got within our capacity that we got, yeah? And I think that, the more we can sort of generate this kind of energy, I think the more we will be able to solve all our problems. We will be able to knock it down and deal with formulas for our solutions, okay? And then after a while, it will become just natural for us to do these things, yeah? So now going back to, I know it seems like a long way ago, but like, you know, where I was coming from, yeah, growing up in as a 60 babes, you know, there was a big movement going around, okay? I'm probably just, you know, we were just probably coming off the cups of it, yeah, in the 60s and the early 70s, maybe too young to even understand, okay? But, you know, being a teenager, a young teenager from 13, 14 upwards, okay? You know, we started to change the way that we started to look at things. In fact, we created our own culture within our culture, in the sense that we started to put our own images on the wall. And for some of us who remember, Malcolm X is one of our favorites, as you know, and also the Black Panthers. And then there was also images of Rastas as well, yeah? So we started to identify with ourselves, okay, only because of the kind of messages that was being circulating, that was resonating in certain areas, okay? And there was that very strong movement. And I don't think people, you know, looking back to those times, realize how powerful the movement was, yeah? So that's why when I'm talking about this, okay, it all kind of dovetails, it all kind of connects to exactly what I'm talking about here, yeah? And it's kind of one of those kind of subjects, yeah, that is a bit sensitive, it's controversial, and it's something that needs to be resolved, yeah, at some point in time. Otherwise, it's just going to go on and on, where, you know, problems need to be solved, okay? Problems don't get solved. What happens is it gets into a bigger problem. It manifests into all types of things, okay? And I think that one of the things that we need to be looking at is cleaning house, having a cleaning house program where we clean the house. Every year we spring clean. As you know, as Black people, as Black African people, we're proud of ourselves, and we will spring clean our house every year, okay? If it's not at the end of the year, then it's during the spring period, yeah? And, you know, we have certain traditions and customs that we still have today, yeah? But some of the things that we, you know, that our parents' generation used to have, some of those things that we still need to use, yeah? We still need to use some of those things, okay? And some of the things that our parents taught us, okay? We can use some of those things, but at the same time, we have to always continue to evolve, all right? So now, going back to, just referring back to this whole Kwanzaa situation, okay, with Maulana Karenga, and the questionable things, okay, that we need to be looking at. So much things that's questionable that the information is pouring out, yeah, basically, okay? And there's always new information that's coming out, yeah? And I'm just here to extrapolate that as best as possible, yeah? And when we're talking about looking at our people, what we're talking about, yeah, generally speaking, is that we've got a group of people, yeah, that are championing the causes, okay, that are pushing the agenda to the limits, okay, where we can, you know, the ideas and the things that we need to fight for, our rights and our justices and things like that, have been always on the agenda. And I think that, you know, I'm wondering, yeah, as it all kind of you know, slowed down, as it kind of subsided, as it digressed, yeah, is it even dead in the pan? You know what I'm saying? Is it dying out? Yeah, all of this conscious movement stuff and all this Pan-Africanist and, you know, African-centered stuff, is it not gaining as much traction as before? And if that's the case, why not? What's happening? Yeah. And that's the reason why I'm looking at this particular subject here. Yeah. And once you get a little bit of understanding, you're not going to understand everything, because you really need to delve into a lot of sources of information. Okay. Now, I've been looking at this stuff for years. Okay. I've been studying us as a people in so many different variation of ways about so many different subjects, you name it. I've kind of covered it. Yeah. And obviously I don't know everything, and in some terms I don't want to know everything, okay, because there's some things that's so nasty and terribly, horribly evil, okay, like you know what I'm saying? I don't really want to go there. And there's certain things I've had to delve into, because I find myself in this position, yeah, where I have to look into this little window, so to speak, you know, and then, you know, you have to climb through this window. As a metaphor, you climb through this little window, and there's another window, a bigger window, you know what I'm saying? So that's all that's happening when you're on the road to knowledge, or you're on that journey to investigating, examining, or making observations, or exploring, or researching. Whatever it is that you're doing, it's not for everybody, yeah? So just going back to, referring back to just a catch-up, okay? And like, I have to be really mindful of time, because I want to make sure I can get information out there. And I've got a couple of videos that I want to actually give you different perspectives from, or in a way, I am going to be biased, because in some respects I'm not fully biased, but I'm going to be slightly biased, because obviously I'm coming off at the time where, you know, we knew the Black Panthers. We never knew the Huss organization. No one ever knew about the Huss organization, as far as I know, yeah? And for a while anyway, yeah, maybe a few people did know about it, but they weren't as popular, no way near as popular as the Black Panthers, okay? And the Black Panthers, you know, irrespective of what a lot of people may say about the Black Panthers, okay, there's a lot of propaganda out there about all kinds of manners of things, and that's true, yeah? One thing I've got to say about the Black Panthers, okay, is that they was a very powerful group, very, very powerful. There's no doubt about that, yeah? And they were like all about empowering their people. I mean, their story is so powerful, yeah? I've got some information on them, yeah, where you need to see some of the things that they were setting up when they was around, okay? And one of the things was, just to give you a backdrop, okay? Because you need to understand what the civil rights movement is about. If you go to my link, Say Shara, my YouTube channel, okay, that was set up not too long ago, I will be giving links, okay, so we can get all the information, so you can quickly catch up, yeah? And you need to understand the civil rights movement, and I've got a document here, or an essay, in fact, okay, by Davron L. Baldwin, okay, about the civil rights movement. It's not that long, but I'm not going to read it out, yeah? But it gives you an idea of the atmosphere at that time, okay, and what it was like, okay? It was very, very hostile. And some of us growing up in the 60s, 70s would understand and know what I'm talking about. It was very, very hostile, yeah? You may have, in the 80s, yeah? And like, when I'm looking at things now, I'm reflecting on things, I'm reminiscing now of things on the past, because this brings up so much stuff for me, yeah? You realize what the game plan is all about, innit? Yeah, the whole thing around the COINTEL program, yeah? That I was talking about, and I've been talking about, and people have been talking about, okay? How effective was that? Yeah? And it's a secret program, as you should know, okay? And, you know, they had an agenda towards black organizations and black leadership to suppress black leadership and organizations, to neutralize them, disrupt them, discredit them, and destroy them. Yeah? And that's what it was about. That was a secret, covert program. That proves, remember now, a lot of people never knew about that. Even the people that was in organizations never knew about this secret program, but they knew that there were agents around. Yeah, so I'm saying that was nothing new. Yeah. So, you know, it's like what was happening at that period of time. Okay. You know, even now, all right, we're talking about what, you know, since the 60s, we're talking about 40, 50, 60 years. Okay. Now, well, 50 years anyway. Yeah. And like, you can say, yeah, it did that cause, you know, us to stop us from progressing? Did that all stop us from progressing? Yeah. Did it really break down the leadership and make our leadership very, very weak now? Yeah. And that's why I've been saying that our leadership is weak, bad, and poor. I've been saying it for years, okay, that our leaders are being used to exploit us, okay? And the European system uses our leaders to exploit our leaders, okay, to keep us under control. It's not hard to work out. It's not hard to tell, yeah? But going back to what I was saying, all right, you need to understand how the civil rights movement was, okay, and the atmosphere, and, you know, what our majority of our people were contending with in different parts of the world, okay? Not just the United States of America, but here in Little England, in England, what you call Britain. Some people call it Great Britain, all right? And in Europe, and also in the Caribbean and in Africa. And there was a strong black power movement that was revolving around, okay? And the messages was getting more and more powerful. And maybe they thought, you know what? We need to do something about that. But they're not going to tell you what they're going to do. Everything that they're going to do to us as a people, as a group of people, whether people want to accept this or not, they're not going to tell you. They always keep things in secret. Always. Yeah? In war, you got to understand now, these people are on a war footing in the way that they're thinking. Their mindset is a war thinking mindset. If you study The Art of War by Sun Tzu, yeah, this is the kind of thing that all members from the army, you know, all the generals and all the high-ranking people, they study all things like that. Yeah, and there's things that they study that we don't study. We don't study that. Well, we don't study these things. Okay, these people study these things and they understand, right, that how important, yeah, how they use secrecy, how they use intelligence, how they use counterintelligence, yeah, and how they know how to resist against any opposition that comes in their way. So they've learned how to do all these things, okay? So they've been throwing a lot of stuff at us, yeah, for years. And so it came out in 72, around 71, 72, if I remember. This information that was classified information, now becomes declassified information because now it's gone out to the public, yeah? This is what the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover's presidency, yeah, you know, was doing, and it was in collaboration with the government and other agencies, yeah. But what was interesting about the Black Panther Party, yeah, is there was a very powerful group compared to any other organization, yeah. The US organization only had about 60 members, whereas the Black Panther Party had a membership of at least 2,000 plus, and it was growing, yeah. And you can't make any comparisons, yeah, when you look at this 10-point program that the Black Panthers had produced, and you know, there's even they've got a rules book, okay, where they have code of conduct and stuff like that. They were properly organized and structured, okay, around the certain things they were doing, and they knew the laws, right? So I'm just going to quickly go through this, yeah, and then I'm going to jump to another article, and maybe I'll play a video, and I'll try and see if we can get the phone lines going, okay? So look, the Black Panthers 10-point program. 1, we want freedom. We want power to determine the destiny of our black and oppressed communities. We believe that black and oppressed people will not be free until we are able to determine our destinies in our own communities ourselves by fully controlling all the institutions which exist in our communities. 2, we want full employment for our people. We believe that the federal government is responsible and obligated to give every person employment or a guaranteed income. We believe that if the American businessman will not give full employment, then the technology and means of production should be taken from the businessman and placed in the community so that the people of the community can organize and employ all of its people and give a high standard of living. 3, we want an end to the robbery by the capitalists of our black and oppressed communities. We believe that this racist government has robbed us, and now we are demanding the overdue debt of 40 acres and 2 mills. 40 acres and 2 mills were promised to us 100 years ago as restitution for slave labor and mass murder of black people. We will accept the payment in currency, which will be distributed to our many communities. The American racist has taken part in the slaughter of our 50 million black people. Therefore, we will feel this is a modest demand that we make. 4, we want a decent housing fit for the shelter of human beings. We believe that if the landlords will not give decent housing to our black and oppressed communities, then housing on the land should be made into cooperatives so that the people in our communities with government aid can build and make decent housing for the people. 5, we want decent education for our people that exposes the true nature of this decadent American society. We want education that teaches us our true history and our role in the present day society. We believe in an education system that will give to our people a knowledge of the self. If you do not have the knowledge of yourself and your position in society and in the world, then you will have little chance to know everything else. 6, we want completely free health care for all black and oppressed people. We believe that the government must provide free of charge for the people health facilities which will not only treat our illnesses, most of which have come about as a result of our oppression, but which will also develop preventative medical programs to guarantee our future survival. We believe that mass health education and research programs must be developed to give all black and oppressed people access to advanced and scientific and medical information, so we may provide ourselves with proper medical attention and care. 7, we want an immediate end to the police brutality and murder of black people, other people of color, all oppressed people inside the United States. We believe that the racist and fascist government of the United States uses its domestic enforcement agencies to carry out its program of oppression against black people, other people of color, and poor people inside the United States. We believe it is our right, therefore, to defend ourselves against such armed forces, and that all black and oppressed people should be armed for self-defense of homes and communities against these fascist police forces. 8, we want an immediate end to all wars of aggression. We believe that the various conflicts which exist around the world stem directly from the aggressive desire of the United States ruling circle and government to force its domination upon the oppressed people of the world. We believe that if the United States government or its lackeys do not cease these aggressive wars, it's the right of the people to defend themselves by any means necessary against their aggressors. 9, we want freedom for all black and oppressed people now held in U.S. federal, state, county, city, and military prisons and jails. We want trial by a jury of peers for all persons charged with the so-called crimes under the laws of this country. We believe that the many black or poor oppressed people now held in United States prisons and jails have not received fair and impartial trials under a racist and fascist judicial system and should be free from incarceration. We believe in the ultimate elimination of wretched, inhumane penal institutions because the masses of men and women imprisoned in the United States or by the United States military are the victims of oppressive conditions which are the real causes of their imprisonment. We believe that when persons are brought to trial, they must be guaranteed by the United States, juries of their peers, attorneys of their choice, and freedom from imprisonment while awaiting trial. And the last one, 10, we want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, peace, and people's community control of modern technology. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve these political bonds which have connected them with another and to assume among this the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God endowed them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident and that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundations, such principles, and organizing its powers in such forms as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, would dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience have shown that mankind are most disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the form to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpation, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under the absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Okay, so that basically is the Black Panthers 10-point program that was produced in the 60s, okay, mid-60s. And, you know, look where we are now, yeah? Some of the things, if you look at this, okay, I mean, most of it's quite relevant right now, yeah? And that just shows you how practical the Black Panthers were. They were very, very practical in the aims and the goals and objectives and the things they wanted to do, yeah? And if you look at it, right, you know, some of the things are relevant today. There's no doubt about that. You can't question them, yeah? So in comparison to any other organization, the Black Panthers at the time, they was a modern organization, really up to date with what was actually happening in their world, in the world, yeah? So you can see why it was important for the government to target the Black Panther Party more than any other organization. Because look at this 10-point plan. All you got to do is look at it, yeah? And you see some of the things that's relevant, even today, in 2019, yeah? We want freedom, yeah? And we want power, our own power to determine the destiny of our Black people, yeah? We want full employment, yeah? The end to robbery by the capitalists of Black and oppressed communities. Decent housing. Look at the Caribbean, man, and in Africa, yeah? They knew, this I'm saying, and that system is using our people, isn't it, yeah? To keep us in poverty, right? Decent education, yeah? You know, a true reflection of our story. Free healthcare. How important is that? Yeah. And then to police brutality. Has that changed? No, I don't think it has. I think it's even got worse now, isn't it? Yeah. Because you know, in this country, no police officer has been convicted for killing or murdering or assassinating any individual in this country, whether they're black or white. And that's been, I think it's well over 1,000 people. Yeah. It goes on to say the Black Panther 10-point program was saying an end to wars. So they weren't just about, you know, they were focusing on a lot of things around black issues. There's no doubt about that. Of course, you got to do that, innit? If you've got respect for yourself, innit? That, you know what I'm saying? No other group of people is going to respect you if you don't respect yourself. Simple logic, isn't it? Yeah? So we have to be looking at ourselves, okay? But at the same time, we understand that these wars do affect us. Not directly, but indirectly. Yeah? And you know, one of the things that they were saying is that we shouldn't, you know, as black people, we shouldn't join any armies because these wars ain't got nothing to do with us directly. Yeah? So, you know, this whole thing about the war situation, warism that goes on, they saw how dangerous war is. War is you know, it's not a good thing. Yeah? And you see today countries in North Africa being bombed up. Yeah? Whether it's the Saudis doing it, whether it's the Israelis are doing it, yeah? Or whether it's the Americans or the British or the Europeans are doing it. They've got all the weapons. Yeah? And they what they do, yeah, they distribute all these weapons all around the world so they can get people to kill themselves, isn't it? Yeah? All right? And it generates what it does. What is the war industrial military machine does? It generates that kind of energy, yeah, that kind of negative energy where it perpetuates war so that it can fuel the industrial weaponry war machine. It's a simple equation. It's profit over people, yeah? So we want also, it says number 9, you know, a lot of black people have been locked up in prison for nothing at all. You know, innocent people, so many people. Remember, the other day they said that they're getting, what they're saying that they're going to legalize weed. Then all those people that got charged for weed should be exonerated. You know what I'm saying? But that's one of the things they target black people on, because they know black people, some black people like, you know, they like the herbs. You know what I'm saying? So they target people, you know, Rastas and, you know, black people generally. And then that, in effect, gives you a criminal record. They charge you, give you a criminal record, and then they can lock you up, or it can affect your job prospects. And it's just one of the things that they use to target us, okay, to oppress us, yeah? So the Black Panther Party knew how important that is. And even today, there are members in the Black Panther Party. They're still locked up today. There's members of different organizations that are locked up today for nothing at all. They're political prisoners, okay, and they're innocent, yeah? And the last one says that we want bread, land and bread, yeah? They make it quite plain. The language that they're talking is quite plain language. We want land, bread, housing, education, clothing, justice, peace, and people's community control of modern technology. See what I'm saying? So they was keeping up with pace with the technology and science and stuff like that. And they were very, very queued up with a lot of stuff. There was a very powerful organization. Yeah? So now you can see, once you delve into this stuff now, right, you get to understand a little bit of what's going on today in 2019. Yeah? That's our story. It's our story. And it's not easy to understand our story because it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You have to get the pieces to put them together so you can get a picture. And, you know, obviously the more the puzzle is, the pieces of the puzzle is, the difficult it is to put that picture together. Yeah? So, you know, we have to create our own institutions to be able to create that education, yeah, or dedication to inform our young people our story in the way that it needs to be presented. The way our story is being presented by other groups of people doesn't show a true reflection of who we really are and what we're about. We're great people. And we mean great, we mean to be great in the way that we are as a people. But at the same time, we've been oppressed because we're great people. You see what I'm saying? Yeah? And this is just, give you evidence to show you what we're up against, okay? That, yeah, maybe things a bit seem like they're a bit calmed down and stuff like that, and there's not a lot of that stuff going on, yeah? Because at that time, people was talking a lot of revolutionary talk, a lot of gun-ho talk, you know what I'm saying? And really, it was just a lot of talk, innit? All that stuff to do with violence, because we're not really we're not really violent people in nature, is it? Yeah? But there's no way that we could be on that level where, we can say that we can really take over any country, man, because we're not organized like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah? But in those days, in those times of revolutionary, yeah, people, like I said, had that kind of mindset, yeah, where people were actually challenging and resisting against the system, yeah. And the reason why this story, I think one of the main reasons why this story came up, yeah, just to kind of get you to connect to certain things, yeah, is that it's connected with this group. It's probably made up, again, another made up group, okay, by the government called the Sudanese Liberation Army, okay? And you can look at that, right, and get another perspective of what's going on there, yeah? But just to give you a little summary of just what the Sudanese Liberation Army was about, how they was highlighted, or how they came into existence, okay, and what they were doing, is that they actually kidnapped some wealthy family's daughter, yeah. The name was Patricia Erst, and obviously, you're kidnapping some wealthy family's daughter. You know what I'm saying? It's going to cause a big controversy, and which it did, and it ended up in, people got killed. In fact, the members of the SLA, they call them SLA, yeah, got killed, yeah. And I'll give you information around that. You can go to the, YouTube, 2 videos. You can do the research, okay? Go and Google it and stuff like that. But you can Google one name called Donald D. Freeze, yeah? I'm going to talk a little bit about this whole stuff to do with agents, okay? And why it's connected with Maulana Karenga, us organization, and Kwaanza. This is all connected, isn't it? Yeah? And really good to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, right? But you see, what I'm saying is that within our communities, there's an element of corruption. And maybe some of our people can't see the elements of the corruption and how there's people in our community just aiding and abetting with the establishment. And they are personifying themselves, or they live in a pretense, giving you a false image or false perception of themselves that they are community leaders, they're community activists, they are freedom fighters, they are liberators, and all of this stuff, okay? Right? So you don't think the Europeans don't know all about that stuff. You think that they don't know about this. Let me tell you something, yeah? We need to learn something from their intelligence and from their security. Yeah, why they pay so much attention to their security and intelligence? Because it's based on their national interest. What's their national interest? That they're going to protect. Yeah? They're going to protect the things that they know that's going to be worth protecting, right? So what I'm saying is that, don't you think that we should feel the same way about that we need to protect the things that we feel is important to us? Yeah? And so we have to look at this whole thing around espionage in our own communities, damage control. Yeah? Because yes, at that time, during the Black Power movement, there was a mighty uprising. Some people call it a revolution. But I think that they kind of step in when they're talking about revolution, because at the time, there were revolutions going around. There were some real true revolutions that were happening. Yeah? And so people took a leaf from that and basically used these revolutions as a tool to use to drive this thing forward. So there's maybe nothing wrong with this, because it's all maybe a part of how we needed to evolve at that time. Yeah? But at the same time, you know, we understand that there was a counterintelligence program, a secret counterintelligence program, yeah, to destroy and to keep us from progressing and developing, yeah, from reclaiming, from demanding, okay, our rights, our land, our resources, and, you know, our culture, and all the things that we feel that's ours, yeah. So, you know, one of the things I'm gonna say, yeah, because I'm gonna read out a few stuff, okay. Like I said, and I've got a few videos I'm gonna. I've got a list of Kwanzaa errors, and if we get the time, I can go through that, yeah. Now, just to highlight, yeah, just give you a little taster, yeah, that a lot of people overlook a lot of certain things, okay. I'm not saying I'm the best investigator at reporting things, right, and I know everything. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying there's a lot of things that's highly suspicious about certain things that certain people are doing, and I don't check for that. You know what I'm saying? I think that certain things, I'm coming into this so-called Pan-Africanist, African conscious, African-centered community, yeah, about how we need to liberate the minds and the hearts and the bodies and the soul of our people, and how we need to improve and uplift our people and improve the quality of the lives of our people, and want the best things in life for our people and all of this stuff. We want a higher level of thinking and being, and we want a higher way of how we need to be communicating and how we need to be relating and doing things together and working together, yeah, and looking out for each other and all. We want the best things. This is what we're saying, yeah, and not the worst things, right? Because I don't think that, you know, any old leadership is good enough just because it's a leadership. And then we've got to sort of look at, how do we redefine leadership? How do we redefine movements? Because we know there's a lot of stuff that's out there that says it's black, that says it's African. It's not black, it's not African. It's European with a black face. Do you get what I'm saying? And a lot of things are being financed and been exploited by other groups of people, right? Yeah? So they can rob us. Do you get what I'm saying? Exploit everything that they can from us. And as long as we're divided, the more that we're divided, obviously, it's easier to break through into us, okay, and to be able to manipulate and take advantage of us. Because generally speaking, most of our people are in a vulnerable state right now. I don't care what anybody wants to say, directly speaking. We're in the most vulnerable state, yeah? Things haven't changed from the 60s, from the time I was growing up. What's changed? The same things they were doing in the 60s and the 70s, they're still doing. And so what happened is, once they started taking out all the leadership, they start breaking them down, locking them up, shooting them, killing them, taking them out. Yeah? What do? They start bringing in drugs into community. Yeah? And then the next minute, you know, there was a crack epidemic. We had babies born being addicted. Because now we haven't got a defense no more. We're so open because the people that were there, the leaders that we had there, they broke them down. You know what I'm saying? They took them out. Some of them still in jail right now. Some of them lost their lives. A lot of people lost their lives. We don't even know. There should have been a report. After that COINTEL program was released, okay, after 71, 72, there should have been an inquiry into all of that stuff. Because a lot of people died, yeah, where people were being set up, right? People were being set up. People were just killed innocently in their house. You could be in your house one day, and next minute police is coming around your house, yeah, and they're shooting your house up. And that's what happened to SLA. And in them days, the police didn't mess around even more. They were even more vicious then. They were burning people's houses down. They would just burn you out in your house, kill you in your house, burn you down. This was happening. That's what they done to the SLA, the Sudanese Liberation Army. Yeah. And I think that, like I said, yeah, once they could take, because they knew that there's too much black power. It was too heavy for them, innit? They couldn't cope with that. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, they had to activate these programs, innit? Remember, there was another program that they still got, the secret. So just be real. Right now, there's a secret program right now they got for us, and they still got it for us, right? It's right there, innit? We know that they got a secret program for, because they're in this country with the Windrush generation scandal that happened, just last year. What was that? What was that all about? That just shows you how they're manipulating us, using this immigration and locking us up in detention centers when it's just another way to lock us up again. Another excuse to lock us up. Oh, we got the right to lock you lot up because we're the ones that's governing the world. Yeah? And one of the things I've realized that I thought about, yeah, is that I don't think people realize how much some of our people have compromised. Remember I was saying to you that we have to either compromise or negotiate. Negotiate or compromise. It's either or either, not neither. So it's about how do we negotiate and how do we compromise. It's not about just giving in and they just say they're going to have the best deals, yeah, and our people just going to starve, because that's what's happening in the Caribbean and Africa, yeah? The foods and all the minerals and resources, right? And what they're getting from the land and all that, yeah? The commodities, right? And the stock exchange, who's controlling that? Who's manipulating that? Whoever controls that, whoever controls the currency, this is what's enslaving us, yeah? So look, you make a difference between what the Black Panthers was doing and what's the organization of the US organization doing. What's the comparison? I gave you the 10-point plan. Yeah, and what was Kwanzaa about? Kwanzaa's about, at the end of the year, pacifying you so you celebrate. What are you celebrating? You ain't done nothing. What have you done? All you Kwanzaaites out there, what are you doing? All you're doing is going around and round and round in a loop. Yeah? That's all you're doing. Right? Seriously, you need to know. Right? You don't know what you're talking about. Unfortunately. Yeah? You don't know when people's giving you something. Yeah? Who's actually giving it to you? Right? And if we think that you're just going to just accept anything without questioning, you got a bunch of people, what we dummies, we're just going to sit down and just not be able to analyze things. We're just going to just be like dummies, vegetables, to sit down, just accept whatever coming at us. Because it's black or African. We've got to get real. Yeah? So you can't make these comparisons up between the Panthers and the US organization. You got groups out there, Pan-Africanist groups out there, they support both of them. How can, you know what I'm saying? How can you support the Panthers and support us organization at the same time? Right? And don't see the differences between the two. In comparison, oh, one's very, one organization is very tainted, yeah? And then the concept that was created is highly suspect. So, the character is suspect, and the concept of Kwanzaa is very, very suspect as well. Why are you questioning that? Question it. What's the problem with questioning? Well, because it's black or it's African, we can't question it. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah? But who's going to decide what's good for us and what's not good for us? Who's going to make that decision? But look, it's an individual choice. What you want to do, it's an individual choice, right? But I think that people need to be properly informed. People are intelligent enough, right, that you should be able to give them the opportunity to inform them, to consult them. People disrespecting us, right, like to say we're stupid, dumb vegetables, right, and that we're just going to sit down and just not say anything, like we're mutes. So one of the things is that, look, I've been looking at this, yeah, and I was very, very suspect around certain things, yeah. The first thing we suspected is the press. The press, when you look at this, right, I would point the press as being very I think very suspicious, right? Because one of the things that they were saying is that the mainstream media, when Maulana Karenga got arrested, yeah, and charged and all of this stuff, and he was convicted and all of this stuff, okay, Kwaanza was in the newspapers, yeah, they were still promoting Kwaanza. So you have to ask the question, right, yeah, why is the mainstream media promoting, endorsing, and advocating Kwaanza the same year that he was convicted and years after that? Yeah? Right? This is one of the questions that was asked. Okay? That needs to be asked. Why was the mainstream media, a person's been convicted of what? 2 offenses, okay? Very, very serious offenses, torturing and imprisonment, yeah? Felonies, yeah? And the mainstream media didn't think it was important to report it. They didn't really report it, did they? Yeah, they really held it down. How is it that they just kind of missed that? How did they miss that? Was it deliberate? Did they deliberately miss that? Did they deliberately decide we're not going to report the conviction of Maulana Karenga, but we'll continue the Kwaanza? You know what I'm saying? We'll keep featuring it. Yeah? So that's really suspect. So why did the mainstream media promote it? Yeah? During the time that he was going through his trial and his conviction. Yeah? But nobody sort of looked at that. Yeah? And why was the mainstream media not covering that story? Why weren't they covering it? Why didn't they didn't have to make a big story of it, but if they was advertising already, remember, Kwanzaa's been around since 1966, right? When he was convicted, it was in the early 70s, 71, 72, yeah? So Kwaanza had been around, 5 or 6 years or whatever, okay? And they was promoting it. They was just banging it out, innit? Yeah? So they know, everybody knows that, Maulana Karenga is claiming that he's a founder, he's a creator of Kwaanza. So it all leads to him. He claims to be the leader of the US organization. So all roads lead to him, right? But for some reason, the press decided to ignore that. They ignored actually putting it out in the press, okay, and that he's got any connection with Kwaanza. They totally separated the whole thing, and then they kept it hush. All right. Another discrepancy was this time the judiciary system, the judge giving 1 to 10 years. Who does he give 1 to 10 years? And I'm trying. It's very difficult to know exactly how much time he actually did, because some people are saying 4 years, 3 years, right? So, it's very difficult, but some people are saying even 1 year that he got convicted and given 1 to 10 years, and all he did is serve 1 year, and I think, you know, they gave him parole. I know that some people actually petitioned or wrote letters to get him released early. I don't know who these people are or why they think they need to do that. Yeah, considering. Yeah, because if somebody tortured your women, your daughters, your mother, your woman, your aunt, niece, any female member in the family, I'm sure you're not going to be happy with it. It doesn't matter what you want to say about Kwanzaa. You can talk about Kwanzaa all day long. You can celebrate that all day long. But if somebody, you know what I'm saying? He claims to be the founder of Kwaanza, and he's got form, he's got a record, yeah, for torturing and abusing his own black women in his own organization. Don't you think that's suspect? So anyway, he gets 1 to 10 years, right? Which is, it's remarkable, to say the least, yeah? And what's happened to the 2 women victims? No one knows what's happened to them. No one can't find them. They're just gone missing, yeah? What's happened to their family, yeah? Also, you have to remember that his own wife testified against him, the ex-wife, I should say, yeah? All right? Lorraine Karenga, now she's probably got another name, yeah? But she testified against him, yeah? So if people want to argue about that, why don't we go and ask his ex-wife? You see what I'm saying? Yeah? There's things that we can still do now. People can still do right now, yeah? To resolve this, okay? So the judiciary system is very, very suspect. Why are they kind of protecting him, or why are they kind of being favorable to him? You know what I'm saying? No black person would ever get that. You're looking at 20 years, maybe even more, right? So also the court records, why was there hardly any court records of the case, of the trial? It's like that's gone missing, yeah? It's really, really, really suspect. Why can't they find any transcripts? You know what I'm saying? They can't hardly find anything of it, yeah? So all these kind of things are very suspect, yeah? Also, the university, I think what they were saying is that he got himself a position in a top university about, was it a few months, they said, coming out of prison. How fortunate is that? How fortunate is that, eh? Isn't that a setup? What does that say to you? What does that say to you? Yeah. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Try and get me to work that one out, because I can't figure that out. Say sure I can't figure that out. Yeah. But to me, if I'm just saying keeping it real, right? Yeah. There's no way you're gonna get a break with these people that you're gonna get little jail time or prison time, okay? Because you're a black radical, or you're a black revolutionary, yeah, talking about you hate whitey. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. You got to have connections. You got to know people. You got to be doing something, man. And one of the things I realized, okay, is that this prison thing, just like the currency thing, yeah, that we're enslaved to, yeah, we're kind of in. The prison thing is another thing that they could use to manipulate us and our people and our leaders. Because when they got you in prison, right? When you're under their duress, okay? And what they do, yeah, we don't know what they do after time, yeah? But what I would imagine is that some people have compromised their position and basically sold us down the river. It's not hard to do. Yeah? You see what I'm saying? Because once you go to prison, right, you're going to know what prison life's all about. So they'll remand you. They'll say, "Oh, we'll remand you," and when you're on remand, that's when you start doing the deals with your attorneys or your lawyers or your barristers. Yeah, so deals are being done, right, between the barristers and whoever's being prosecuted and the judges, right? And it's all to do with this whole system being corrupt. The system is corrupt, yeah? And so what I'm saying is that corruption has touched our grassroots community. Whether people want to accept that or not, that's up to you, right? Because once you go into prison, you've just compromised your position, right? Or when I say you've compromised your position, that there's a possibility that you're going to compromise your position, right? So, to say that somebody got off lightly, with a serious charge, you got to be very wondering about, well, is this person, is he working for the establishment, working for the government? And also, yeah, with all of these things, yeah, the government. Now, I've just mentioned 3 things now: the press, the judiciary, the university. You know what I'm saying? Not having vetting processes. You're telling me universities don't have vetting processes and procedures. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't really make sense to me. Yeah. Anyway, the government also is questionable. And why? Why? Because they're endorsing Kwaanza as well. They're also, what? Not vetting. Are they not vetting the founder of Kwaanza? It doesn't really make sense. You're telling me that the American government, that has the most highly paid security and intelligence agencies, the most security intelligence agencies, you're telling me they never vetted one black man? Of course they vetted him. Of course they would know that the founder is, and has done, certain unsavory things. He's an unsavory character and all of this stuff, right? But yet, to prove to you what I'm talking about, George Bush Jr., every president has endorsed it, going back to George Bush, maybe even further, yeah? So you got, like I said, at least 9 presidents from the time of John F. Kennedy. And just to remind you, yeah, remember now, to show you how hostile America was, remember they assassinated John F. Kennedy and his brother, right? Yeah, as well as Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, right? And other political leaders and activists and people that were freedom fighters, okay? But you tell me, yeah? You tell me, how are you going to work this out, yeah? How is it easy buddying up with all of these people, right? Why is he so, you got the elite, the liberal elite, yeah, actually endorsing this, isn't it? Yeah, because there's a letter from the White House President Bush, George Bush Jr., yeah. And just to give you a little heads up, okay, let me read it. It says, this is in 2001, presidential message, Kwanzaa message, right? It says, I'm pleased to send warm greetings to all who are celebrating Kwanzaa. Established in 1966, Kwanzaa represents an African-American and Pan-African holiday celebrating family, community, and culture. The 7-day observance, beginning December the 26th and ending January the 1st, serves as a special time to recognize and reaffirm the Nguzo Saba, or 7 principles of African culture. These are unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, creativity, and faith. Kwanzaa provides an opportunity for people of African heritage, regardless of their religious background or faith, to come together and to show reverence for the creator and creation, to commemorate the past, to recommit to ideals, and to celebrate the good in life. These life-affirming traditions, like on particular Renaissance this year, as the United States and the world face new challenges to peace. As individuals, families, and communities take part in this celebration of unity and of enduring values, and extend best wishes to people throughout the globe for a wonderful and memorable Kwanzaa. Best wishes on a special occasion, George W. Bush. All right? So that gives you an idea. That's what that's about. Yeah? And so Donald Trump, you know what I'm saying? All of them. Yeah? We don't know how far it goes back, like I said, yeah, but don't you think that's a red flag? Don't you think they would have vetted that? So they basically, they just said, you know what? They gave it a pass, innit? They know what's happening. It's obvious they know what's happening, innit? Yeah? They gave him a pass. Why? Why would they give him a pass? Yeah? Normally, we would say that under normal circumstances, that would never be allowed. Why would they give black people a holiday? And somebody made a question. Somebody compared that to the Martin Luther King holiday and said, well, why didn't you question Martin Luther King? Why would they give black people a Martin Luther King holiday? Well, I think you're making a total different comparisons, okay, when you try and compare Martin Luther King Day, yeah, to celebrating Kwanzaa. It's 2 different characters, 2 different things here going on. But these are the things that people would do. They're trying to find different ways to rationalize things, yeah? And maybe that's cool. All right. So, I've got a 10-minute video. Might be a little bit, yeah? Just give me an idea. It's not me talking, yeah? Just give you an idea, okay?
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News. News-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Wow. Did you know Bunchy Carter at all?
Yes, I knew Bunchy Carter. I recruited him to UCLA. Also, John Huggins.
Yes.
Bunchy Carter had been a Slauson gang member, and he got out of the penitentiary, but he wrote poetry. He was very smart. He taught himself to read and write, so he got recruited to UCLA under a special program. He was doing all right as a student. He and John Huggins, who came in from out of town, was also a good student, got recruited, were gunned down in front of 43 witnesses in a cafeteria in broad daylight by 4 people who were members of the US organization.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing that struck me is they only caught 2 of them who were accessories. And I remember seeing them after they had been prosecuted. Hell, I testified as a witness. They got prosecuted, locked up in the penitentiary, and 2 years later I ran into them at the Palladium in Hollywood at a concert. It was sitting at the table. So what are you 2 doing out? They had escaped, and they had an all-points bulletin out for 2 days, and then they canceled it. Well, to make a long story short, about 5-6 years ago, they showed up to surrender, and they were told nobody was interested. The 2 people who actually did the shooting, their names were known, addresses were given, and I think one of them's mama was identified as the place where they were staying. The police didn't even go by there to get them. Maulana Karenga got 5 years in the California State Penitentiary for torturing several women. He got paranoid, thinking they were going to poison him. So they let him out after 1 year exactly, and then within 40-some days, he became a tenured professor at the California State University system, in the California State University system.
Wow. So what you saying is, to me, it's like the government was involved in this, like COINTELPRO.
Well, they have an involvement. It's just they have simpatico Negroes who go along with it.
I know I was listening to a documentary. General Pratt was interviewed, and he felt like that the US organization was not the mastermind behind the John Huggins and Bunchy Carter assassinations. And people also question Elaine Brown.
Oh, well, I know both of them. I recruited both of them, the UCLA undergrad.
Oh, okay.
Geronimo Pratt. What it was about is, my opinion, the people that were most behind it was the LAPD special unit known as SIS. I actually got told by some detectives who were investigating the murders that they thought I was right, because the only people that knew the information were in the police department, but when they got there, the US organization had already been advised. Elaine Brown was a smart individual, and she'd worked as a clerical around the UCLA campus for some years, and she wound up passing the test and got recruited as an undergrad. I knew all of them. I was the BSU community liaison, and at that point, we had tripled the number of African Americans in UCLA, and we got good ones in who couldn't be counted on. When I got in UCLA in 1965, there was a grand total of 73 African American full-time grad students, 72 full-time undergrad students, and the student body totaled at 64,000 students full-time.
Okay.
Now, 8 years ago, the student body was 96,000, and they admitted one African-American freshman.
Right.
But going back, we wound up getting more African-Americans in 1966. In 1967, we got 250 in, and in 1968, we got 250 in, and we got those who wanted to be black student union members for the, I guess, the appearance. And whereas, you know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Big Lou then, the basketball player, Mike Warren, Lucius Allen, you know, all the UCLA basketball team with a lot to lose, man. We got to go move on to administration building. Let's go. You got these people, and I'm sorry, brother. I understand the sacrifices that you made to get me in here, but I can't afford to jeopardize my career. I will have you in mind. Grab that fool and bring him with us. And I remember we had a BSU president named Eddie Maddox. He's dead now. And he didn't want to go. He was so scared that when we took him out there, he peed his pants.
Lord. Okay.
It was like that.
Wow. That's amazing. So wow.
The primary group, we didn't get through any back doors, any special programs. We got in through the front door. But we were conscientious, and we had a cause. So we were willing to sacrifice our future and our lives for that cause. And a lot of people got killed around UCLA back in those days. A lot of them, we felt the US organization had a lot to do with.
Well, you know, what do you think about now that Ron Karenga is so celebrated now? I mean, his Kwanzaa thing is basically a national holiday. I mean, it's a money maker.
I don't celebrate it because I think he is a sellout Negro of the worst type. I met Ron Karenga on a field trip to LA City College. His name was Ron Everett, and he had a Jamaican accent, long wavy hair and green eyes, and he was, I say, You know, here, man, you got to come and get your education. Mm-hmm. And that's the way he talked when I met him. And then later, brothers, there's much that the black man need to know. Howsoever is not at all necessary for you to trouble yourself, because Maulana will teach you everything you need. Maulana, teach on that.
Mm.
He killed some very good friends of mine.
Mm.
And we had, like, you spoke about the Maulana, we'll bring him out here. I talk about him to his face.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't like him.
Yeah, our people are so asleep on this history. I mean, I don't understand. Like, we get it. It's available right at our fingertips right now.
So let me give you an example. Let me give an example. There's a guy named Yuko Babu. He runs the Pan-African Film Festival now.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to raise money in 1973 for Frelimo, a group of African guerrillas.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he wanted to ship these combat boots and uniforms over there, but the State Department stopped him. They had a whole plane full. So he decided to give a concert at the Palladium. Stevie Wonder performed free of charge for 2 hours. Oscar Brown Jr. and Pharaoh Sanders and Gene and Judy Pace performed free of charge.
Wow.
We had all of these stars, didn't charge a dime. Ron Karenga wanted $5,000 to have his boot dancers put on a show.
You had Stevie Wonder for 2 hours. You had Oscar Brown Jr. and everybody. He wanted $5,000. This is back in 1974?
Yeah. No, 73.
73. Okay. Interesting. He's a capitalist, you know.
Man, you go to hell. That's where, by the way, that's the Palladium incident where I saw these two folk that murdered John Huggins and Bunchy Carter.
Wow.
Yeah, Genesis Radio back on the set. Okay, all right. So you can get that, Judge Joe Brown. All right. Some people may be familiar with him. All right. And, you know, it's called Judge Joe Brown, Why He Doesn't Celebrate Kwanzaa. And Maulana Karenga killed my good friends. All right. So Judge Brown, Joe Brown is very controversial. But he's a judge, isn't it? Yeah, he's a judge. All right. So would you say that as a black judge, okay, Imno Wagwan, yeah, and he was around at the time, okay, you heard what he said, he actually employed these people, he brought them in, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And like I said, there's a lot of people out there that wants a resolution or wants this resolved, but there's a lot of pain still there, yeah? All right, while people celebrate, yeah? All right, so now let me go to this document now, straight away. Then let me see if I can go through it quickly, yeah? All right, so, let's see, I'm sounding all right? Let me just go to this announcement quickly first, okay? So I don't forget. Let me just go to that quickly. All right. So, Auntie Jean's African Culture Market will be on Sunday, the 20th of January. And the times will be 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. The venue is at Loughborough Centre, 105 Angel Road, Brixton, SW9 7PD. Showcase will be our lovely beloved sister Stella B and brother Nat 9. Libation with Chief Nana Amla. We have free drumming lessons with Ross Prince, who will be doing some lessons for the children. It's a beautiful thing. We'll have invited guests, brother Vasco Stevenson. I want to pick up brother Vasco Stevenson. We'll be talking about He'd be talking about the Third World War, a battle for humanity. Now, the way I'm looking at it, I'm not going to go into this here, but as far as I'm concerned, I think that we're in World War III. It's a silent war. Quiet weapons for silent war. Yeah, we talk about that as time goes by. We also got 7, who will be at the IG's African Culture Market. And 7 will be talking about, 7 is a targeted warrior, creator of many worldwide award-winning TV productions that was stolen. Very interesting sister. She's got a lot of story, a long story to give you, okay? And she's got a lot of things to say, yeah? All right, and if you want to get some more information about her or what she's talking about, you can YouTube her. I think if you YouTube 7, S-E-V-N, you should get her. You should get her, right? All right, so look, she's targeted warrior for the creator of many worldwide award TV productions that was stolen. Tony Dada, talking about the GPS, Grow Personal Success, GPS. We also got Galactic Pride, talking about mind control, protection, and empowerment. Yeah, there's a lot of mind control here. Go on. There's no doubt. A lot of our people are under mind control. They don't realize it. Sorry to say this, but all you people that's following these religions, or if the Bibles, or any of these Bibles, which is the foundation and premise of all of these religions, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah, you're under some mind control. All right? But anyway, it goes on to say that there will also be an open mic, poets, singers, musicians, and spoken word artists. For further information, call Auntie Jean on 079 61 886 032, and it will be at the Loughborough Centre, 105 Angel Road, Brixton, SW9 7PD. Okay, so anybody's interested in going to Auntie Jean's African Culture Market on Sunday, the 20th of January, between the hours of 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. And if you want further information, you can go to this telephone number. If you want stalls or for more information, the number is 079 61 886 032. And by the way, I want to big up all the organizations out there. Too many to mention, okay? I'm going to try and find a way to mention all the organizations out there that I can remember. I want to big up the BFSG, the Black Forward Support Group, the Sister Gathering Group, the National Association for Black Supplementary Schools, NABS, Africa Banter School, Ubuntu, Legs, Sister Junie, Shell Phoenix, and so many people. Okay, I can't really remember everyone right now, but I want to pick up all the organizations out there that's putting work out there, all the individuals that's putting work out there, whether you're a part of an organization, foundation, association, or group, yeah, or if you're an individual and you're on the journey, on the road, you're on that path, okay, you want the best for your people, you don't want to compromise that, I pick you up every time, yeah? All right, so going back to this now. So I've got this article I've got to go through, okay? It's going to take me a little while. Bear with me, all right? This is the article that kind of puts the nail in the coffin, so to speak, yeah? Kwanzaa, a CIA creation to promote racial separation. Now, there's a big rumor going around. It's not a little secret that a lot of people think that Kwanzaa's been created by the FBI or the CIA. They feel that somewhere down the line, people are suspecting that Maulana Karenga he's a stooge, or he's a plant, he's an informer, he's a spy, something like that. He's an agent, he's a double agent. There's all these could be allegations, accusations, assumptions, assertions, whatever you want to call it, rumors, you know what I'm saying? Chinese whispers, boom, there it is, okay? It says, it starts off by saying Africans must stop generalizing about the loyalties and motives of Afro-Americans including the widespread suspicion of black Americans being CIA agents. And that was a quote from Maulana Karenga. Now, just to give you an idea, yeah, I want to give you some links, yeah, so people can go to it. And one of them is that if you go to www.maebrussels.com, yeah, and go to articles, okay? So www.maebrussels.com. That's one word. So you go to the articles, okay? Now, this woman is a European woman. She does a lot of investigative research, reporting, journalism, and she's got a story to tell. Yeah, she's got a story in herself. Yeah, very interesting story. And she's coming from a very interesting background, and you know, she covered things like conspiracies and what governments are getting up to behind the scenes, and you know, she's about exposing information that you don't normally would get ever get on the mainstream media. So what I'm saying is a lot of this information that you're talking about, it was already there before the internet. Before the internet was expanding around the globe and that. This information was already there. This has got nothing to do with internet if you're thinking this information about internet. I'm not saying that information hasn't been added onto the internet. Yes, that's real. You can get that, yeah? But the information was already there before the internet. This is what I want to say to you, yeah? So, going back to this now. Black leader of the US organization in December 1967. And if I get the dates wrong, right, apologies, yeah? I think last week I mentioned 62 by mistake when I should have said 69 in one of my articles, okay? I must have misread it by accident, yeah? So what I'm saying is that a lot of this stuff was going on from, say you can say from 1965, maybe 64 onwards, right? All right, so anyway, it goes on to say, the black leader of the US organization in December 1966, Detective Sergeant R. Farwell, recruited Donald D. Free to work for the Public Disorder Intelligence Unit of the CCS Criminal Conspiracy Section, LAPD. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not too loud. All right. Okay. Right. And just, if anybody's hearing me, you can send me a text on this 0779 542 9449. Okay? I should be able to get that. I will be reading your texts out. Okay? Apologies for the phone, but it will be coming up and running at some point in time. Yeah? All right. Black leader of the US organization, December 1967. Detective Sergeant R. Farwell recruited Donald DeFries to work for the Public Disorder Intelligence Unit of the CCS Criminal Conspiracy Section, the LAPD. His purpose was to monitor black political activities in California. Karenga worked with DeFries and the LAPD as part of the FF, that's a derogatory language, yeah, FF unit, running guns to various black militant groups, hoping to set off a gang war between the Black Panthers and the US organization. Then it jumps into prison. In 1971, Karenga, Lewis Smith, and Luz Maria Tamaya were convicted of felony assault and false imprisonment of assaulting and torturing two women from the United slaves. Deborah Jones and Gail Davis A May the 14th, 1971 article in the Los Angeles Times described the testimony of one of the women, quote, Deborah Jones, who was once given the Swahili title of an African queen, said she and Gail Davis were whipped with an electrical cord and beaten with a cry baton after being ordered to remove their clothes. So it says there, the intelligence origins of Kwaanza by Brother Second. This is a season known as Kwanzaa, and at this time I believe it's necessary to reveal the origin of this holiday that was given to us. Our enemies love Kwanzaa, love to see us engage in its practice, and have no qualms in promoting it bigger than life throughout the media. TV, news, shows around the United States, states, go out their way to advance Kwanzaa. Not because they want to, but because they've been instructed to. No other festivity or pro-African day is promoted this way except for Martin Luther King Day. Why is that? Why do these media propaganda venues need us to believe in it so badly? Why does the anti-black sociopath Bush and every other outright greed and other commercialization? So the answer must reside in the fact our enemies want to A, market a new commercial endeavor called Kwanzaa that acts as a black Christmas to siphon money from African people during a critical time of year of resource consolidation for the enemy. B, promote an American agenda that ultimately serves their interests and props up a long-standing asset while internally subverting genuine African goals and aspirations through their loyal dog, Maulana Karenga. All right. C, enable corporations to make millions of dollars of greeting cards, sales, books, candles, gifts, and assorted Kwanzaa accessories that we see neither a dime nor benefit as a people from. Let me just stop there, yeah? I looked at some of this stuff, okay? Because, yeah, it's not that we're concerned about whether someone's making money from Kwanzaa. It's not that it's that concerning or that we're trying to make it a big thing, yeah? It's just the fact that you got to look at it, innit? You got to question it, right? And, Kwanzaa's been copyrighted. It's been copyrighted, yeah? So someone knows about economics, because he knows about economics, because 52 years he wrote these principles, and one of them was economics. So he knows about economics as an individual. But in terms of transpiring that or translating that to the wider community, I don't see that happening. That whole thing around economic corporations, I don't see it happening. So one of the things I was looking at is that he's selling these products on his website. You can go to his website, Kwanzaa website. What is it? www. If you just tap in Kwanzaa, in fact, yeah, it goes there anyway. Yeah, it goes to his website. It goes to the Kwanzaa. Well, it's come up Wikipedia, yeah, but that's Bing. Let's go to Google. I'm using Bing search engine, but let's say if we go to Google, right, and you tap in Kwanzaa, they sell a lot of stuff there, yeah. He's selling stuff on quite a few places, yeah. All right, so it comes up with the official Kwanzaa website. See, after Wikipedia, all right. Kwanzaa, Google knows what's going on, yeah, because they're part of it, yeah. So yeah, if you look, he's selling books. He's got an African American culture center, yeah, basically where he's got a company or business called Sankore University. It says it here, Sankore. They're the ones that's pushing out all these products, yeah, and these books and everything, yeah, right? And when you look at the products, okay, nothing's African. I don't know what anybody wants to talk about. There's nothing African about none of the stuff that's on the table, yeah. But you know, maybe some of the stuff comes from China. I don't know, yeah. If you look at some of the decorations that they use, or what they called the symbols, yeah, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, he's selling all these products, okay, and you can get a set for I think $170 or something like that, yeah. But I would have said, look, all right, you're selling African stuff, okay, or stuff that's meant to be African, yeah? Are they being made in Africa? Are they being produced in Africa? You know what I'm saying, yeah? Because I doubt if it is. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I could be wrong. But I doubt if it is. It's probably made in China or Japan or something like that. You know what I'm saying, yeah? So Maulana Karenga is he's well conversant with economics. He's put that down as one of his principles, okay? So he knows all about money and all of this stuff, okay? Yeah? So don't, you know, if people want to like think that, oh, he don't know what's, you know, he's not doing anything, yeah, or he's innocent, yeah, you know what I'm saying? He set himself up quite well, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You go to his shop, he's selling everything now, isn't it? Yeah? All right, so look, candle holder, unique cup. Is he selling the corn? Anyway, he's selling the mat and the posters, yeah? Plus, there's other products that's been sold on Amazon and on eBay and whatever. I don't know. There's others anyway, yeah? But, you know, his products getting about. You know what I'm saying? He's selling wallpaper, cards, all kinds of different things, yeah? All right. Let me go back now to this document, yeah? This article saying, in the process of exposing this, I want to proclaim in advance my support for the progressive African principles of Kwaanza. I don't agree with that, but that's cool. He says, as I do believe that they can be very transformative, okay, and of critical use towards the advancements of global African unity and liberation. This is a contradiction there, yeah? But he goes into say, what I have a serious problem with is its amalgamation of Christmas and Hanukkah into a new holiday that perpetuates a financial war against our people. As the funds gained during this time are gathered in a war chest, is destined for use in campaigns and initiatives to enslave, murder, and destroy our objectives of African progression. Anyway, it says the war continues. During the era of 1969 to 1972, a large-scale politicization of prisons throughout the US flourished, particularly in California, and was causing the enemy no end of problems. Led by the writings of Malcolm X, George Jackson, Eldridge Cleaver, Huey Newton, Marcus Garvey, Che Guevara, Mao Zedong, and Ho Chi Minh, African prisoners in particular were becoming conscious of themselves as prisoners in a larger war against our race. As a result, the imprisoned Africans began to organize, study and compose creative pro-African ideas, writings and work, assert their natural human rights, unify as a force, and drop systematic self-destructive behavior. This widespread organization was the beginning of what was to be known as the powerful prisoners' rights movement. The success of this prisoners' movement began to spread like wildfire throughout prison systems in the US and as far as the UK. It even crossed racial lines as Latinos, Native peoples, Asians, and even whites started to support and emulate this bold new dynamic and to target our common enemy. In response to this perceived threat, the CIA, FBI, and political prisoners and progressive groups within the prisons, these elements were funded and used to spread death, drugs, and criminal mayhem as a move to destroy the gains of the prisoners' movements. Snitches and all manner of provocateurs were cultivated, trained, and inserted amongst the revolutionary prisoners and groups. Division 5, in concert with other departments of the FBI, specifically set up and bad-jacketed /snitch jacketed targeted prisoners for inmate-incited hostilities and murder. Later, in the case of the revolutionary Attica uprising, you can look into that, the revolutionary Attica uprising, ATTICA. The prisoners' movement was violently suppressed on personal orders from Nelson Rockefeller, with scores of prisoners brutally beaten, tortured and murdered as examples to others in and out of the penal system. The strength of the prisoners' rights movement was born out of imprisoned Africans constantly transforming themselves into revolutionary African warriors to serve the people. Their successes were noted, and the CIA, in concert with Division 5 of the FBI, the Stanford Research Institute, the California Bureau of Prisons, and the LAPD CCS Criminal Conspiracy Section, organized a project known as the Black Cultural Association, BCA. The Black Cultural Association was a specific behavior modification and psychological experiment unit housed within the California State Prison and Medical Facility at Vacaville. Funding and direction for the BCA came from the CIA via the Stanford Research Institution, as well as the LEAA, Law Enforcement Assistant Administration of the U.S. Department of Justice. The cover story was the development of Black Pride for the African prisoners. Heading up this department was a psychotic house by the name of Colton Westbrook. Westbrook comes from a U.S. Army background as a specialist in psychological warfare and terror ops for the CIA's Phoenix Project in Southeast Asia. Westbrook provided logistical support for CIA's Phoenix program, and his particular job was indoctrination of assassination and terrorist cadres, also known as synthetic terror groups or pseudo gangs. The Phoenix Project was a sustained policy of political assassinations, rigged elections, outright terror campaigns against civilians, political imprisonment in American-made tiger cages, torture and psyops propaganda by CIA agents. CIA Director William Colby promised at his Senate confirmation hearing in July 1973 that he would curb the CIA's activities at home and abroad. Instead, he has imported the Phoenix program directly into the United States. A career CIA man, Westbrook worked undercover with IID, the Agency for International Development, handling black ops assignments throughout Cambodia, Thailand, India, Japan, Hong Kong, Philippines, Okinawa, and Soviet Union. He later went on to supervising the CIA's drug operations throughout Asia before finally being summoned to an African group, the Black Cultural Association, into the inmate population. Westbrook / Yajama set about creating the BCA as a honeypot to attract Africans who fit a specific psychological profile under the auspices of a cultural haven and pro-black self-development center. Under Project MK Search, the Stanford Research Institute and CIA research and development programs work with drugs such as Liberium and magnesium pepperlin, which was administered illegally to certain BCA members at the California Medical Facility at Vacaville. Westbrook's assignment in the Black Cultural Association Behavior Modification Unit was to recruit future agents for CIA domestic intelligence programs. Seemingly random killings, assassinations, and operations such as the Zebra murders in San Francisco are linked to this prison control and training through the imposition of mind-altering drugs, psychosurgeries, chemosurgeries, use of electric shock, electrode implants, and mind control programming such as Clear Eyes assassin training. The codename Zebra killings, so called by police because the crimes involved black on white crimes, took place in San Francisco during a 6-month period from 1973 to 1974 and occurred during the time of CIA/FBI involvement in Vacaville and COINTELPRO operations in California. The murder spree involved shootings, stabbings, and hackings with machetes and was running roughly concurrent to the time that the SLA, Sudanese Liberation Army, was active. The crimes were allegedly perpetrated by so-called American black Muslims motivated by revenge on the white race. Given the history of such tactics as the use of disinformation and smear campaigns against subversive groups, it is possible that this was also part of a CIA FBI project to discredit the Muslim movement in America, and that the murders were said to have been committed by whites in black face makeup. For 179 days period, the Zebra killers brutally assaulted, robbed, and sodomized a total of 23 persons, leaving 15 dead. Also running concurrently was a string of occulted connected murders attributed to a so-called maniac dubbed the Zodiac Killer. Compelling new evidence reveals that this too was a coordinated part of the US intelligence agency's synthetic terror operations, and that the Zodiac Killer was actually Team Zodiac, a terror squad composed of satanic cult, organized killers and patsies, very much like the one they established within the Manson family and Son of Sam terror teams. Colin Westbrook, working with the LAPD's CCS, Criminal Conspiracy Section, and Division 5 of the FBI, used certain newly Africanized and model recruits to set up 2 primary synthetic terror groups known as US organization with police agent Ron N. Everett, aka Ron Karenga, and the SLA, or Sudanese Liberation Army, with police informer and provocateur Donald D. Freeze. According to CCS police snitch, Karenga maintained close ties to the Eastern Rockefeller family, and that a few weeks after the assassination of Martin Luther King, Mr. Karenga, listen to this, slipped into Sacramento for a private chat with Governor Ronald Reagan. At the governor's request, the black nationalists also met clandestinely with Los Angeles Police Chief Thomas Redding after King had been killed. Louis E. Tackwood was a liaison man between Karenga and DeFreeze and LAPD CCS division. Aptly named the Criminal Conspiracy Section, Soul's purpose and agenda was to target and destroy black militants and their organizations through conspiracies involving informers, agent provocateurs, program assassins, and setup men, as well as militant synthetic terror groups to sabotage and discredit the African liberation movement in general. Through Tackwood, Ron Karenga and his United Slaves, and it says in bracket, we should have known they were punks by their names alone, where they're given their assignments to work in opposition to other black groups within the black community, which attracted large numbers of blacks. Karenga was directly ordered to curtail the Panthers Party's growth, no matter what the cost, and that no orangutan, CCS slang for US members, that's what we call these people, would ever be convicted of murder. Tackwood also stated that he provided Karenga with assassination orders from the FBI to kill Panthers leaders Elmo Geronimo Pratt and apprentice Bunchy Carter. Why target Carter? The Southern California chapter of the Black Panther Party was formed in 1968 by apprentice Bunchy Carter. Carter was a former head of the 5,000-strong Salson gang and its hardcore unit, the Salson Renegades, and was known in the area as the mayor of the ghetto. While spending 4 years in Soledad prison on charges of armed robbery, he became a Muslim and a follower of Malcolm X. In 1967, Carter met Black Panther Minister of Defense Huey Newton and immediately became a Panther on the spot. Newton recognized Carter's formidable organization and leadership skills and tasked him with forming and leading the Southern California Black Panther Party chapter. In early 1968, he was given the revolutionary position of Deputy Master of Defense. On January 17, 1969, Jerome Huggins, 23, and apprentice Bunchy Carter, 26, were gunned down by Karenga's men. George P. and Larry Joseph Steiner, Harold Jones, Donald Hawkins, and the triggerman, Claude Chuck Chester Hubert. Larry Steiner was wounded in the shoulder from a shot squeezed off by apprentice Carter, and three of them made their way back to the getaway car driven by the FBI handler, Brandon Cleary. Bureau of Investigation in New York City. Hubert has never been apprehended and is believed to be currently living under Bureau cover. As for the Steiner brothers, they were ordered to turn themselves into police, whereupon the Bureau would assist them with things when things quietened down. After they reported surrender, the Steiner brothers were tried and convicted of the murders of Carter and Huggins. They were sentenced to San Quentin, a maximum security prison. 4 years later, as model prisoners, the two were transferred to the minimum security section of the prison. The FBI made good on their promise and facilitated their escape in 1974 during a conjugal visit arranged for both. Aided by a black prison guard, the two were literally allowed to just walk off, and their handlers in the FBI assisted in providing them safe transit and haven in Guyana, South America. One has to wonder why Larry Steiner one has to wonder what Larry Steiner knows and if his services were utilized further in nearby Jonestown as he was in Guyana during that time. His brother George eventually left Guyana and his current whereabouts are an FBI secret. Larry, however, changed his name to Watani, married, and moved to neighboring Suriname. After civil conflicts threatened his family and great new life, he called his handler with a request to return to the United States in exchange for granting political asylum for his family. This scumbag traitor, an FBI snitch, returned in 1994 and was double-crossed by his masters who arranged for him to finish out his life sentence. Who was a fella? Depending on sources, he was either D. Alfred Perry, aka Ed Riggs, or Lewis E. Tackwood. From 1968 to 1975, he was a paid undercover operative for the FBI and committed many of the crimes that the congressional committees and the Justice Department failed to uncover. A fellow was a code name given to him by the FBI, who ultimately became so pleased with his performance that they gave Othello $2,400 a month in cash payments and expenses. making him one of the Bureau's highest paid and therefore one of the most valued operatives as the FBI documents released under the Freedom of Information Act years later revealed. There were at least 295 FBI operations against black groups up to the year 1971. Of that total, 233 were specific operations launched at the Black Panthers. The Bureau would wound up spending an estimated $7,400,000, much of it operatives like Othello and informants and undercover men to wreck the organization. That amount is about double what the FBI was spending to obtain information about organized crime. Meanwhile, back at California Medical Facility, at the medical facility at Vacaville, a covert mind control unit with funding from the CIA channeled through the Stanford Research Institution, these Menlo Park behavior modification specialists experimented with working with some white CIA soldiers. Westbrook was now very busy mobilizing his Black Cultural Association hypno soldiers into a violent paramilitary synthetic terror group known as the Symbionese Liberation Army. Amongst them, a pathetic loser named Donald D. Freeze stood out. From 1967 to 1969, he worked as a police informer for the Los Angeles Police Department under Detective R.G. Farwell. Police Disorder Intelligence Unit. At the time, the LAPD was supplying weapons to independent black agents and United slaves, hiring them to specifically kill Black Panthers. The Freeze worked closely with police agent provocateur Maulana Karenga, head of the US organization. Later, other members of Karenga's group were programmed at California Medical Facility at Vacaville, with DeFreeze stated that at Vacaville in 1971 to 72, he was the subject of a CIA mind control experiment. He described his incarceration on the prison's third floor, where he was corralled by CIA agents who drugged him and said he would become the leader of a radical movement and kidnapped a wealthy person. Prior to Vacaville, nothing in DeFreeze's background indicated a political consciousness while he worked as a police intelligence informer. Shortly after his arranged escape from Vacaville, an exit door was left unlocked for him. That's exactly what he did following his programming on cue. Colin Westbrook co-opted the works of Revolutionary Williams' writings of the genuine African prisoner movement and incorporated them into the teaching of the Black Cultural Association. DeFreeze, his star pupil, was even allowed to set up a subgroup called Unisite to refine his program leadership role in the Symbionese Liberation Army. Earlier, Westbrook had invited Ron Karenga's United Slaves logo with a seven-headed cobra, along with the company's Swahili principles incorporating each head. And it gives you the seven principles of Kwaanza, which is what the Symbionese Liberation Army incorporated into their organization, which is Umoja, Kajichokalula, Ujama, Naya, Kumba, and Amani. And on closing, it says, after Karenga's conviction and the United Slaves were no longer of any political, military, or intelligence use, Colton Westbrook revamped the United Slaves' seven-headed cobra and principles and grafted them onto his new group, the Symbionese Liberation Army. DeFreeze, who now changed his name to Sinku, or Sin, would be the leader of the group, who consisted of 5 white intelligent assets and one Negro. That's it, really. A Negro. And after Karenga's conviction, Negro named, 5 white intelligent assets and Negro operated named Theo Wheeler Wheeler met De Vries earlier when they were both prisoners at Vacaville in 1972, and Wheeler was placed as an insider handler to manipulate both De Vries, Cinque, and the rest of the SLA. Theo Wheeler was later transferred to San Quentin, and to facilitate his activation in the SLA, he too was allowed to just walk away from his imprisonment in August of 1973. Done, yeah? All right, so quite a few things there, really, yeah? But, you know, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff to do with agents. Now, some of these agents have actually corroborated some of this information, right? It's been corroborated by a particular agent, yeah, or a couple of agents, yeah? So you can look at all the names. I'm going to leave you the information. Go and get this information, right? It's up there. It's called Kwaanza, a CIA creation to promote racial separation, right? Okay, so you can get the White House, George Bush, Kwanzaa. No, you can get the 10-point program, like I said, the Black Panthers, and you can get the Civil Rights Movement article by Davrian L. Baldwin, Trinity College. Okay, so enough said. One more. Let me see. I ain't gonna fit it all in, am I? Yeah, to tell the truth, right? So I've got a split. Yeah.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be.
No, you're not gonna hear that one. Yeah. All right. So what you're gonna hear is something. It sounds similar. Yeah. It sounds similar. And then I'm going to play another.
This is Judge Joe Brown, and we're listening to We All Be News. News-free Dixie for the 21st century. Well, I tell you who we knew as snitches. Ron Everett, a.k.a. Ron Karenga, and the poet Leroy Jones, also known as Mamu Baraka.
Wait, come on, Leroy Jones, that guy that just passed away last year, you said he was informant?
Yeah.
Really? Amir Baraka?
Yeah.
Oh my God! Wow. Why you say that? I mean, what's the evidence? How did we find out about that? Is there
He'd be somewhere where he was, or the other one was, and 2 weeks later the FBI snatched you in, and you remembered somebody was taking shorthand notes, and they're questioning you on these shorthand notes. Yeah. Did you get called in? Yeah, man. They did the same old pick me up from campus, man. Took me 32 miles downtown, left me, and took all the change, man. Yeah. Well, were you at this meeting? Yeah, I was there. Did you see the shorthand? Yeah, I saw the shorthand notes.
Wow. So you think that the files that would be released on Amir Baraka by him being the informant?
I don't know. See, these brothers would do a lot of stuff that was off in left field, and it'd be hanging over them, and they'd hold it over them. Drugs, wrong kind of things with women, wrong kind of relationships with the wrong sex, that was going on. And that basically was J. Edgar's main clinging to folk. He was that himself, but he'd look at that hard to see if anybody else was, and there were some locals and some people nationally who were into that. They swing or whatever it may be, and they've got other interests, so they fell right into his hands.
Yeah, Genesis Radio Station are back on the set once again. All right. So my time is really running down very, very quickly, okay? And basically, that last article I read, I only read half of it. There's still one, two, there's still a few more pages. About 6 more pages. to cover. 1, 2, 3, 6 pages. Yeah, about 6 more pages to cover. All right. So, I don't know if I'm going to get time to do that. All right, because I want you to hear this. All right. Now, there are Black Party members that are still around today. Yeah, that will give you testimony, will give you witness, give you their story, give their version of events. Okay. Don't listen to me. All right. Don't listen to Say Sraight. Say Sraight is just giving you Say Sraight's views. It's giving you Say Sraight's perspective. And, Say Sraight and the way I'm looking at things, okay? It's not going to be the way everybody's looking at things, okay? I'm just saying this is how, this is just a different way of looking at things, yeah? And it may not be for everybody, and people might say, well, Say Sraight, what's that all about, yeah? But like I said, there's too many discrepancies. It's highly controversial. A lot of people talking a lot of stuff. They don't know what it's talking about. Like I said, it's questionable. If you think that we're going to go around, if you want people to go around, just as a poor example, we don't need it. Yeah, we need to educate our people, inspire people, and encourage our people to think on a high level of thinking and way of being. Okay, this is kind of nonsense. That should stop. That should cease. Yeah, because it's just dumbness, isn't it? That we're talking about something. We're trying to dumb things down, isn't it? And trying to make things credible. And at the same time, you've got to question people's credibility when they're supporting things that they don't even know what they're talking about. You see what I'm saying? All right. So look, I ain't the only one that's talking about this, yeah? Like I said, yeah? There's other people that's involved, right? And I'm going to leave you, well, I'm going to leave you with this, but you need to hear this conversation. When you hear this conversation, then, all right. Some of the things it evaluates, some of the things that I've been talking about recently. Yeah, this just came out recently, just a few days ago. In fact, yeah. Listen to this, and then you come back to me and tell me what you're saying. Yeah, and we'll take it from there.
Today is the first day of 2019, but the last day of Kwanzaa, which celebrates African American heritage. Kwanzaa was first celebrated 52 years ago. It was created by Ronald McKinley Everett, who goes by the name Maulana Karenga. Maulana Karenga invented Kwanzaa as an alternative to Christmas. He is an outspoken leader in the Black Power movement. He's called Jesus a psychotic and referred to Christianity as a white religion. While the holiday has spread to Canada and Brazil, some African Americans have big problems with the holiday, not because of what it represents, but because of who created it. It is estimated that Kwanzaa's popularity has declined over the years, with some estimates of only 500,000 African Americans currently observing it. For more on this, we are joined by Bruce A. Dixon. He is managing editor of Black Agenda Report. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Dave.
You're down in Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia, yes, sir.
Where the devil went down and changed his name to Kemp. You don't, anything? Nothing? No laugh?
Nothing on that one.
Okay. That's how it's going to be. Okay. You write over at the Black Agenda Report that you don't celebrate Kwanzaa specifically because of Maulana Karenga, the guy who created it. Karenga is currently the chair of the Africana Studies Department at California State University, Long Beach. He's written countless books on Pan-African studies. He holds 2 PhDs. He claims to be a political prisoner, having served 4 years behind bars at the California Men's Colony, where he became a feminist. Before we get to your issues with him, have you ever met the guy? What kind of life is he leading right now?
I've never met him. To my knowledge, I've only been in the same building with him one time, and I'm from Chicago. In the 90s, I was working in City Hall, and they pulled together this thing called the Black Radical Congress, which is supposed to be a national gathering of black activists, sort of an umbrella thing. And I remember walking in the door and paying my $25 or whatever it was and getting the program, and then I saw his name on the top of the program, and I just had to turn around and walk out.
Well,
I mean, the closest I ever got to meeting the guy.
Dr. Henry Louis Gates puts him up as an authority on the struggles of black Americans. He's well respected, isn't he? I mean, he teaches. He's doing very well for himself.
Well, the authorities are always naming our spokespeople and naming the keepers of our history. That's what they do. They blessed and anointed Ta-Nehisi Coates as some kind of black spokesman. They've blessed and anointed Henry Louis Gates himself. And so it's not surprising they get to pick the leaders that they want and the spokespeople they want and the historians they want. I mean, real history is supposed to teach people how to interpret the present and where to go from here. So that's not the kind of thing that you can leave to oppressed people to determine for themselves. You've got to give them guidance. And so Mr. Karenga has been bestowed upon us, and he's been blessed by all the proper authorities. Here he is.
In your piece over at the Black Agenda Report, you say you're happy for people who get something from Kwaanza, and you write, quote, "It's true enough that Kwaanza is now bigger than the crimes of its founder and will outlive him." So I'm going to ask you about the crimes of Karenga in a second. But first, tell me what Karenga got right with Kwaanza and why it caught on, and do you think it will be celebrated 50 years from now? Because it does seem to be on the decline.
Well, I'm not a prophet, and I've lived long enough to be wrong a lot. So I'm rather loath to make, predictions, about things that are not even that important to me, and whether people celebrate Kwanzaa 50 years from now is not really that important to me. What he did get right is that people do love a good story, and people do love ritual, and people have a need for ceremonies and celebrations. And so there was a blank space in there, and he came up with something that filled that blank space for some people. There you go. Even the stop clock is right twice a day.
Thank you for your restraint. We'll get to the crimes of Karenga in a second. Give us a little context. What was the organization known as US? Who headed it? And what was the difference between US and the Black Panther Party? Did they work together? How did they get along?
I was a rank-and-file member of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party in Chicago in 1969 and most of 1970.
So did you know Fred Hampton?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, let's stop. Let's talk.
Google my name and Fred Hampton's name, and you can find something that I did there for the 40th anniversary of his death. Next year will be the 50th anniversary, and we're planning to do a series of celebrations and commemorations in Chicago, in which I and many other people are going to be involved in. So, yeah, Fred was a comrade of ours. Yes, sir.
Okay, so very, very quickly, let's just take a little detour for a second. I didn't know that you knew Fred Hampton. Who was Fred Hampton? How old was he when he died, and why was he killed?
Fred Hampton was 21 years old when he was killed. Fred Hampton was born in Louisiana, and his family came up to Maywood, which is in the poor western suburbs of Chicago. And Fred had a desire to help humanity. And he was a great student and a natural leader. He was organizing high school students in Proviso East High School, and he was the youth chairman of the NAACP, for his area there. And he was, very smart academically and sports and the rest of that stuff, a natural leader. But instead of taking the obvious and short road, to an elite college, the ministry or something like that, he chose to cast his lot on the west side of Chicago, working for the betterment of humanity and founding and leading the Black Panther Party in Illinois. And that's how we spent the last couple of years of his life. And the last year of his life was the whole time that I knew him. He was our chairman, our deputy chairman in Chicago.
Who killed Fred Hampton?
The FBI, COINTELPRO, America's political police, with the aid of the Chicago Police Department. It's one of those complicated and convoluted assassination stories that you read about. For instance, he was murdered December 4th, 1969, and there was a squad of Chicago cops who were supposedly detailed to the state's attorney's office. State's attorney's what you call the district attorney in a lot of places. And they, walked in. They walked in on the apartment and sprayed a couple hundred rounds on sleeping people. Apparently, Fred had been drugged the night before by an informant named William O'Neill, who also gave the FBI the floor plan of the apartment, including the spot where he would be sleeping. And so they sprayed bullets. They killed two people, Mark Clark, who was on the front door, and Fred, and they wounded 6 or 7 other people. There were a total of 9 people in the apartment, and they were all swept up. And there were lawsuits and such for a year. Oh, the leader of the police group was supposedly a Chicago police sergeant named Daniel Groth, Groth. A few years later, when a family was suing the FBI and the Chicago Police Department, it turned out that no such police sergeant as Daniel Groth ever existed, and his badge number never even existed either. Although somebody with Daniel Groth's face was seen a couple of years later among some of the FBI shooters at Wounded Knee. So there are many, many connections. The family eventually did sue, and after a decade, they got a pittance of a settlement from the government. The only way that they got this was there was a burglary in an FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania, which revealed the existence of the COINTELPRO program. Some activists in Media, Pennsylvania burglarized an FBI office and removed a trove of documents, which referred to other documents that the FBI and the Chicago police and other agencies of the government had for 10 years insisted did not exist. And it was these documents that revealed for all to see the actual extent and existence of the COINTELPRO program. If it were not for that burglary of the FBI office, we would not really know about COINTELPRO. The government would still be denying it. It would still be classified.
What is the FBI's official stance on the death of Fred Hampton? Because they have kind of come clean on the letters sent to Martin Luther King and his wife with the pictures of him with other women and the audio tapes of him with other women and letters that FBI agents wrote to Dr. Martin Luther King telling him to commit suicide. I think the American government has pretty much come clean on that. Did they ever acknowledge their involvement with the death of Fred Hampton? Or do they have an official cover story?
I'm not certain that they have publicly acknowledged it, but there has been a lawsuit where they've paid out a single-digit number of $1 million to, some of the family and some of the survivors. But I'm not aware that they have fully accepted responsibility for the murders of Mark Clark and Fred Hampton. And I'm certain that COINTELPRO involved other murders. In terms of letters, the most famous letters, at least famous in Chicago, were some notes that were also originated through the FBI that were written to gang leaders, supposedly from Fred Hampton, and then some others that were supposedly from the gang leaders to the members of the Black Panther Party, in which the FBI was trying to incite some kind of conflict. Mm-hmm. So everybody seems to know about those. But as far as the government taking responsibility for its secret political police and their operations against people pursuing their legitimate political objectives in the United States, hold your breath, wait for that one.
COINTELPRO, what was it? When did it start? Was it primarily the FBI? Were they working with the CIA? What What exactly was COINTELPRO?
Well, nobody really knows what goes on, totally behind closed doors, but the FBI traditionally has been the United States of America's political police from its very, very inception. J. Edgar Hoover was one of the founding directors of the FBI, and what they were about was about hunting down communists and hunting down people to be deported in the Palmer raids in 1919 to make America safe for World War I. Mm-hmm. And so the FBI had a long, by the time the Black Panther Party came about in the 1960s, the FBI had been for decades in the business of suppressing and punishing and tracking political dissent in this country. So COINTELPRO was simply their program that focused on black folks in the 60s and the movement of the 60s.
How did you meet Fred Hampton?
It was January 1969. I was living in Chicago on the South Side, and I decided to join the Black Panther Party. I walked into the office and said, I want to enlist. And they told me what to do, and eventually I did wind up meeting Chairman Fred, as we called him, among others.
What was US?
US was an organization. US was the organization headed by Ron Karenga. Sometimes they said that US stood for United Slaves, and sometimes when they were trying to be clever, when you asked them what US meant, they would say, well, US is we, and we, us. So that's what they were. They were us. They were them. For us, they were not us. They were them. There were some fundamental philosophical differences between the Black Panther Party and us. The Black Panther Party was groping towards socialism. My job in the Black Panther Party in Chicago was helping teach the political orientation classes at 2350 West Madison Street on the west side of Chicago. We taught Marx and Lenin and Paulo Freire and the rest of this. We taught historical materialism, and we taught socialism. If you look at, there's a movie called The Murder of Fred Hampton. There was a crew filming a documentary on the party and on Fred at the time he was murdered. And they turned that documentary into something called The Murder of Fred Hampton, which you can find
on
YouTube nowadays.
I watched it a year ago with my son. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in it a couple places, okay? I got no lines, But,
okay.
But when you hear Fred talking, he's talking about socialism. He says, he talks about an international proletarian revolution. That's the language that he used. He's talking about socialism. Now, on the other hand, us and we, or Ron Karenga's outfit, was definitely against socialism. They definitely preached against any kind of class struggle orientation. Their view was that people free themselves by throwing off the culture of, and changing their culture. That
pulling up their pants.
We called them cultural nationalists. And we called ourselves revolutionary internationalists and socialists. And so there were fundamental philosophical differences between us. And besides the fundamental philosophical differences between us in Los Angeles, where there actually was an US organization, those fundamental philosophical differences were also piled upon by, some practical close-up flesh and blood differences that ended up with the murder of several members of the Black Panther Party. John Huggins and Bunchy Carter were murdered in a cafeteria.
I'm going to ask you about that in a second.
Sure.
The Black Panther Party started in Oakland and spread to Chicago and around the country. US, I would assume, since Karenga was from L.A., it started in L.A. Did it spread to Chicago? How big did US get?
No, we never saw those folks in Chicago. So, fortunately for everybody, we never saw them in Chicago.
And is Karenga about the same age as Fred Hampton?
Well, they say when you die young, you don't age.
Right.
So, still 21, and Mr. Karenga has to be in his late 70s, or he might even be 80 by now. I don't know.
Okay, so let's talk about
he's definitely enjoying an undeserved victory lap.
Yeah. Let's talk about us and the piece you have written over at the Black Agenda Report. You say that Karenga worked with COINTELPRO.
It's very clear, yeah. It's very clear that his organization was used by COINTELPRO, and he allowed this to happen. And besides his philosophical...
Allowed what to happen?
He allowed his organization to be used in this way. He allowed his followers to be manipulated into threatening people and eventually murdering 4 members of the Black Panther Party that we know about.
Al Prentice, Bunch Carter, John Huggins, Sylvester Bell, and John Savage. Why don't we go through who these people were? Who was Al Prentice Bunch Carter?
Bunchy Carter. Bunchy Carter was, you can contrast him really to Fred Hampton. Al Prentice Bunchy Carter was one of the founders, was one of the founding organizers of the Black Panther Party in Los Angeles, along with Geronimo Pratt. And he had been part of the Slawsons, which is a street organization, and he politicized part of the Slawsons, and then they split off and became the Renegade Slawsons.
I got to interrupt you because a lot of my listeners have a comedy background like me. When you say the Slawsons, you're talking about the Slawson cutoff, where you cut off your Slawson from The Tonight Show, right? You know what I'm talking about?
That's California stuff, bro. I ain't on that. I don't know nothing about that one.
That's from the Johnny Carson show. He always used to say, take the Slawson cutoff and cut off your Slawson. So there was actually a gang called the Slawsons?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And that would be South Central, right?
I'm not much on L.A. geography. I've only set foot in L.A. a couple of times in my life for no more than a weekend. So I am really hazy on that.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
If we were talking New York or Chicago, I could give you chapter and verse.
Okay.
This block means that, and that, but L.A., I can't do it. So.
Yeah.
But the Slawsons were what you would call a gang, yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Or in Chicago, sometimes we call them street tribes. And Al Prentice Bunchy Carter was one of the leaders of it, and he did some time and got out and decided that he wanted to do some good, and he became political. He was also an accomplished vocal stylist and a poet, and he was recruited into the student body at UCLA by Judge Joe Brown, as a matter of fact. Judge Joe Brown, they say, was the BSU coordinator from UCLA, and it was his job to recruit promising black students. And he recruited both Bunchy Carter, he says, and John Huggins.
Yeah, and who was John Huggins?
John Huggins was another leading member of the Black Panther Party in Southern California.
And when did Bunchy Carter and John Huggins die, and how did they die?
I believe it was 68, and they died. They were shot to death in front of 40-some witnesses in a cafeteria on the UCLA campus by members of the US organization. But where I was going to go, though, we talked a few moments ago about Fred Hampton, mm-hmm. and about Fred Hampton's appeal to some of the gangster folks in Chicago, and how the FBI and the local police thought this was a very, very, very ominous and threatening development. Well, the difference here was, and the similarity between Bunchy Carter and Fred Hampton, one in Chicago and one in L.A., is that Fred was not a member of these organizations. Fred was an outsider, trying to politicize the street tribes, whereas Bunchy Carter was very, very much an insider. So,
right. Karenga, who gave us Kwaanza, did he order the hit on Bunchy Carter and John Huggins? Do we know?
I certainly don't know. I'm sure there's people who do know, but I'm not one of them. And, if you're the captain of the ship, and the ship goes this way, the organization goes that way, you walk around for the rest of your life smiling about it, then, you know, it's a reasonable supposition that you had a lot to do with this.
Could this be something as simple as turf war, that us didn't want the Black Panthers moving in on their realm?
Well, I wouldn't pull it down that way. No, the Black Panther Party was a political party and a political organization with a 10-point political platform and program. And, you know, its objectives were far, far different from those of us. So
why would us kill Black Panthers?
Because the only reason for us to kill Panthers would be that if they were in the service of someone else, because their own interests didn't necessarily conflict with the Black Panther Party, but the interests of the government, okay, which doesn't want people to self-organize, which doesn't want people to think about class struggle, and doesn't want people to oppose capitalism, and who found our 10-point political platform and program. Our political platform and program, for instance, called for resisting the war in Vietnam at that time. It called for the dismantlement of most of America's prison systems. Mm-hmm. Okay, it called for an end to the robbery by the capitalists of our black communities.
Right.
You know, these are not things that us necessarily had a quarrel with, but they are things that the government had plenty of quarrel with.
Right.
It means that this is not a turf war, because those objectives do not never infringed upon the turf of Mr. Karenga's organization. They interfered with the turf of the government. They interfered with the turf of the ruling class in this country, which found a way to employ people like Mr. Karenga to do their bidding.
I see.
So it's not a turf war. It's something else.
We're talking about Karenga. He created Kwaanza. He also founded US. And what was in it for him specifically if Bunchy Carter and John Huggins were assassinated? Money? US would become what if it worked with the government? What incentivized him?
Well, I guess on one level, I suppose they would be recognized as the representatives of black folks on the UCLA campus and politically. So there would be a small amount of patronage that they would get from that, maybe some jobs, maybe some contracts. Certainly after Karenga was arrested, and he did not do he was sentenced to 4 years, but my understanding is he only did 1 year out of the 4 for torturing 2 female members.
Well, let's get to that. Let's get to that in a second.
Well, no, the reason it's relevant is because you asked what did he get. Okay, what he got is he got his sentence shortened from 4 years to 1 year, and then within 2 months of his release, he got hired tenure track for a professorship in the University of California system, from which he recently retired.
Right.
So that's what he got. Got a claim, he got tenure, he got a life, and he got a little patronage. So there you go.
Bunchy Carter and John Huggins were killed before Karenga was accused of those crimes, right?
This is true, yes.
So what did he want at the time that they were killed? What was he thinking? What do you think his dream was? I don't think his dream was to go to a men's colony in California.
I could not say. And I just could not say. That he was not serving his own interests. He was serving the interests of America's political police.
Right.
So there you go.
Who was Sylvester Bell and John Savage?
Sylvester Bell and John Savage were 2 lesser-known members of the Black Panther Party. One was in the San Diego area, I believe, and their murders are also widely believed to be credited to members of US.
And does US still exist? How big did it get, and when did it all peter out?
I could not tell you that, but I can tell you that, to my knowledge, certainly it does not exist anymore. There are a number of people who used to be part of it who tell stories, and a few of them have written books, some of them quite critical of Mr. Karenga and his misdeeds. If you want to look for them, they're out here.
Why did Karenga go to prison?
He eventually went to prison. He was convicted of torturing 2 female members of his organization. He and his wife took part in the torture. You know, that's what he went to prison for. Oh, also, US was very patriarchal, too. You know, part of their cultural nationalist ideology, you know, basically posited the superiority of men over women and black men over black women. You know, and that was a core part of their belief, you know. And so when there were disagreements and some of these women came under suspicion, it was fine and dandy, according to him and some of the folks in the organization, for these women to be tortured. And so that's why he adds Karenga. I mean, I've heard it said that he says that in prison he repented and became a feminist. So that's what you got to do. You got to torture women and go to jail for it, and then you come out saying you're a feminist. Yeah, right.
And he's never once apologized for any of this.
He's never said or spoken a word that would even lead anyone to hint that he takes any responsibility or feels any regret over these things that happened half a century ago.
He was convicted of kidnapping and torture, and he did do his time.
He did a piece of his time. They said he was sentenced to 4 years, but he only did 1. And like I said, he was immediately hired tenure-track professor by the UC system, you know, within 40 or 50 days of his release, which is kind of remarkable. Who else does that happen to?
He claims he was a victim of COINTELPRO.
Yeah, that kind of figures, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. I guess I won't wish you a Merry Kwanzaa.
Happy holiday. All right.
The war on Kwaanza continues.
It's not a war on Kwanzaa. You know, I mean,
I'm trying to give it a Fox News spin.
No, let's not give it a Fox News spin. Let's not legitimate Fox News at all.
They don't bring this up. We were talking before we started that Fox News will attack Kwaanza, but not for the right reasons. They don't go after Karenga for being a tool of J. Edgar Hoover.
Precisely. They just paint him as a black clown. But a lot of us don't see anything funny here. And, you know, for those who get something positive out of Kwaanza, bless them, you know, and we are happy for them. But, you know, for us who are the comrades of the people whom Mr. Karenga murdered, while they are celebrating Kwaanza, we're going to hold high the legacy of the folks who were killed. We're going to hold high the legacy of our comrades, John Huggins and Bunchy Carter, Sylvester Bell, and John Savage. You know, we're just going to hold that high. And happy holidays.
Bruce A. Dixon is managing editor of Black Agenda Report. You also have a radio show. How do people listen to your radio show if it's not on in a city near you?
Well, what you want to do is you want to go to blackagendareport.com and you want to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, smash the subscribe button, and the subscribe button will get you every week a free email newsletter that has links to all our printed and audio material that is issued every week. Back 3 years ago, when they first started this fake Russiagate scare, and they first started tarring people on the left, saying that this one and that one were under the influence of Russians, Black Agenda Report was the first to be targeted with that slur and with that slander. And ever since then, Facebook and Google have suppressed the appearance of our material in search results and in Facebook stuff and in commercial social media. So the only way you can be sure that you're getting fresh news, commentary, and analysis from the Black Left each week from Black Agenda Report is to go to our site and hit the subscribe button so that we send you our stuff by email direct to your inbox.
So you're being accused of being a front organization for the Russians?
The way they put it is that we are carrying the Russian line, or carrying water for the Russians, or we sound like the Russians because we're for peace. Okay? and because, we're, against war. This is the lazy liberal slur that Democrats and Cold War liberals, cruise missile liberals, I like to call them, are levying against the authentic left in this country. If you're for peace, you must be influenced by the Russians. That if you question the economic system of this country, if you're for single-payer health care, or better yet, for a national health care service, if you're against the dismantling of the VA, if you're for housing for everybody, then obviously you didn't think of these things all by yourself. The Russians must have planted these funny ideas in your head. Here we are.
Here we are. You'll come back?
If I'm invited.
You're invited. Bruce Dixon, managing editor of the Black Agenda Report, blackagendareport.com. Can you stay on the line for 1 second?
All right, Genesis Radio Show, so we're back on the set once again. Okay, just to let you know, if you want to just quickly send me a text, 0779 542 954. Oh, let me say that again. 0779 542 9449. Okay? Alright, so there you have it. Alright? That information you can go and get. It's called What's Quantum Creator, an FBI Snitch, Bruce A. Dixon. Or it could be the Black Panthers don't celebrate Kwanzaa, right? So yeah, you can go to that Bruce Dixon, or in reference to Bruce Dixon, you might have just heard that. You can go to Black Agenda Report, BAR, Black Agenda Report. You can Google it and check out his website. Yeah, ex-Black Panther member. Yeah, putting out a lot of information out there. What's going on? All right. Now, I'm really supposed to be departing. To be fair, I want to finish off this one here. Yeah, let me finish this off, and then one more article, then I'm gone. I did have another video. I did have at least another 3 or 4 articles to go through. Obviously, I ain't going to be able to do that. Plus, I got my list of Kwaanza errors, but I think most of you would have heard it as I went along, most of the stuff. So you would have got the drift of that. Yeah. And look into yourself. Okay. Look into yourself. Like I said, again, what's real and what's fake, what's authentic, what's non-authentic. Yeah. You've got to make these differences, innit? You've got to make up these, distinguish these differences, right? All right, so let me just finish off this, yeah? Going back to this Kwaanza, CIA creation to promote racial separation, okay? Now, just to give you a backdrop, okay, what they're talking about. Because it's not the first time we would imagine that governments will incite, orchestrate, fabricate, and instigate racial tensions, or they may create an atmosphere like what you see what's going on right now, where you've got a lot of far-right groups, fascist groups springing up all over Europe and parts of Western culture in America and different places like that, especially with this Brexit palaver and Donald Trump's, blowing his trumpet about making brick walls and borders and, talking all this kind of derogatory stuff about people who are immigrants who are from, or foreigners from other countries. Right? It's a similar thing that we got where people, governments, they will find ways, as per usual, to always use race, sex, and class, yeah, to keep people divided, right? So a lot of these things are not initiated by black people. You find that you could get maybe someone that's talking about hating white people, for example, but then they may be financed by the white people themselves, or being endorsed or supported by white people to say things like that. Yeah, so we have to look at very carefully. Yeah. All right, so let me just 2 pages, yeah, and then I'm going to wrap it up with an open letter by one of his own ex-members of his US organization, right? So just going back to finish off the article or the report, Kwanzaa CIA creation to promote racial separation. There's just a couple more pages to go through. We talked about who was a fella, yeah? He was an undercover agent. And then it goes on from what I was saying about this whole thing to do with the Black Cultural Association and how really in prison they made a black organization in prison. Some of these agents or, you know, agent provocateurs, you know, they may have been under some mind control programming, okay, training, and all manners of things, okay. You know, and seasons, you know what I'm saying, in prison, okay. And there's a lot of people that go to prison, like I said, they compromise their position because obviously they don't want to do the time. Anyway, it goes on to say another unusual development with intelligent connections was the sudden appearance of a man by the name of Bernard Keaton, who was secured as an actual double for Donald DeFreeze. Keaton surfaced in spring of 1973 after DeFreeze walked away from Soledad and claimed to be Donald DeFreeze. As cover, Keaton moved in with DeFreeze's family, friend, Reverend W. Foster, and family. In Buffalo, New York, Keaton's impersonation was so good that it was even familiar with intimate details of the family history that only DeFreeze could have known about. The only reason for having Keaton as a double was in case law enforcement officers in the Bay Area had accidentally picked up DeFreeze during the time between his escape from Soledad and the kidnapping of Patricia Hearst. Then, if necessary, his double could have taken his place in prison. 3 long years had gone into training DeFreeze for his mission while at Vacaville Medical Facility, and he couldn't afford to be jeopardized. Later, when the FBI was challenged about Bernard Keaton being DeFreeze's double, the FBI stated they are not concerned or even curious about him and stated that it isn't illegal. When the CIA, FBI, CCS decided that the SLA had outlived its usefulness, that is the Sudanese Liberation Army, had outlived its usefulness, and the freeze programming was coming apart more and more. Their terror group, the SLA, decided to be publicly eliminated. Wayne Lewis, an FBI agent provocateur, reported that the FBI had asked him to replace DeFreeze 2 weeks before DeFreeze's death because the FBI was going to kill him. The police and the FBI then carefully arranged for the select operatives, Freero Wheeler, Emily and William Harris, and Patricia Hearst, to be secreted out to safety and surround the SLA's safe house. As soon as Freero Wheeler and another Negro punk made sure the others remained in the house for sacrifice, the cleanup operation began in earnest. Agent Donald Gray of the FBI shot DeFreeze in the back from a position just outside the house. Then a flurry of bullets were fired into the house and the structure set ablaze on national TV. DeFreeze and 5 other SLA members were calculatedly incinerated along with any telling or critical evidence. The LAPD did not notify the Freed's family of his death for 3 days. His remains were sent to them in Cleveland, Ohio, with both the head and the fingers missing. I can only imagine that if a proper and thorough autopsy were performed specifically on the brain tissues, it would have revealed evidence of any chemo surgeries, physical surgeries, psychoactive chemical residue, and or electrode experimentation. It was either that or the body that they had was actually Bernard Keaton, the double for DeFreeze. It was alleged that directly after the cleanup operation, the CIA demanded possession of DeFreeze's head and Evie was going to take. So okay, it's jumped all over the place now. All right, so for some reason it's just jumped all over the place. All right, it says there. Anyway, it just ends there, isn't it? The CIA demanded possession of DeFreeze's head. Then it goes on to talk about Karenga. Anyway, we know about that bit, about what he'd done to the two sisters, yeah? From his own organization, okay, the way he tortured them, imprisoned them and tortured them, stuff like that, yeah? All right, so yeah, and to add to it that, like he threatened them, he said that they used burnt cigarettes on it, burnt them with cigarettes, and inserted the wall holes into their vaginas, and statistically falls cold and very hot water into them. So that's a sexual attack as well, yeah? Anyway, it says, seeing that this could lead to a real stretch in a real prison, Karenga didn't want to do hard time in a regular prison, so he feigned insanity and beseeched his covert masters for the help. Quoting from a transcript of Karenga's sentencing hearing on September the 17th, 1971, the key issue was whether Karenga was sane. Judge Arthur L. Alcon read from a psychiatrist's report. Since his admission here, he has been isolated and has been exhibiting bizarre behavior, such as staring at the wall, talking to imaginary persons, claiming that he was attacked by dive bombers and that his attorney was in the next cell. During part of the interview, he would look around as if reacting to hallucination, and when the examiner walked away for a moment, he began a conversation with a blanket located on his bed, stating that there was somewhere there and implying indirectly that there's someone was a woman imprisoned with him for some offence. This man now presents a picture which could be considered both paranoid and schizophrenic, with hallucination and illusions and inappropriate effect, disorganization and prior contact with the environment. Either he was faking for a reduced sentence, or some BCA, that's the Black Cultural Association programming, was going AWOL. So in other words, that program has gone seriously, drastically wrong. Anyway, it says, in any event, he was sentenced on September 17, 1971 to serve 1 to 10 years in California State Prison named California's Men's Colony in St. Luis Obispo, California. His handler stepped in once again. He was later transferred to, get this, California Medical Facility at Vacaville for possible deprogramming or reprogramming. Brother Spartacus of GAP Gap Radio asserts that it's possible that Karenga may have never ever served a sentence in a prison at all, and that his masters in the FBI may have arranged for fake prison records to be generated at the facility of his alleged prison term, which is something to the following day that was apparently the last newspaper article to mention Karenga's unfortunate habit of doing unspeakable things about people. After that, the only coverage came from hundreds of news accounts that depict him as the wonderful man who invented Kwanzaa. Karenga was released a scant 3 years later in 1974. And you see, that's just debatable, isn't it? And anyway, he goes to say his handlers in the CIA and FBI set him up to be chairman of the Department of Black Studies at California State University. Now named Professor Maulana, master teacher Karenga, he later resurfaced with a resurrected SLA. No, you already had that. Yeah, you already had that. All right. So just to clarify, some people are saying that the SLA, no, that Maulana Karenga Kwaanza took the several symbols from the SLA, but it's not. It's the SLA took it from Kwaanza or from Maulana Karenga. Yeah. Anyway, it goes to say his handlers in the FBI thought that this would serve a twofold purpose of establishing a market in a synthetic African holiday with a convoluted African origin that would serve the financial agenda as an alternative to Christmas marketed directly to black people, and two, to give their valued operative with a new cover for reinsertion into the African community, primarily for intelligence gathering, gatekeeping, and assumed leadership role with complete absolution of his crimes against African masses. That, in addition to the great laughter they enjoy watching as sanctify a sick, sadistic predator of African people, a vile tool it delights in the continued destruction of our liberation. But let's hear from the man Karenga himself, talking candidly in a May the 9th, 1978 article from the Washington Post. People think it's African, but it's not. Quote, unquote. He continued, quote, I came up with Kwanzaa because black people in this country wouldn't celebrate it if they knew it was American. Also, I put it around Christmas because I knew that's when a lot of bloods, young black people, would be partying. Full stop, unquote. We need to make a revolutionary choice at this point and either continue celebrating a holiday given to us by our enemies, a holiday that amalgamates Christmas and Hanukkah with a synthetic African characteristic inserted strategically for 7 days right after Christmas. Kwanzaa was an African Trojan horse to continue an unofficial celebration of the Christmas season and redirect our hard-earned money back into the enemy's coffers, to depart a legend and gives absolution to a trade African masses should have judged and gave a death sentence for crimes against African people and our struggle. Kwanzaa is now commercially viable, commodity as Christmas, generating millions in greeting card sales alone. It's clear that a number of major corporations have started to take notice and try to profit from Kwanzaa, said a San Francisco State Black Studies professor, Oba T. Shaka. Anyway, I don't agree with the rest of the stuff that he's talking about salvaging Kwanzaa. Personally speaking, I want to be right crude. Personally speaking, that should be buried. Just bury it, innit? Just like the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah. All fake stuff, innit? Yeah? And fake people. Anyway, I'm not going to go on about that, yeah? All right, so basically, that's done. So let me just finish on this note, all right? Like I said, remember, I've got much more still to go through, but I'm done with this, okay? And every year I do this like a ritual. Everybody knows this. I don't know how many years I've been doing this quite a while now, right? Yes, I'm saying. All right. This is from one of his own members, okay? So basically, you're getting it from different perspectives, like I said. Black, white, from members of the party, from non-members. You know what I'm saying? This is somebody from his own organization directly. It says, greetings. This was posted on July the 2010th. It says, greetings. For those who don't know me, my name is Wesley Kabahala, and I've been an advocate of Kwahada since 1967, a member of the US organization from 1967 to 1985, and served as its vice chair from 1979 to 1985. During the years that I served in the US organization, I was trained as a Simba Wachanga, our defense and security arm. During 1979 to 1985, I also served as chair of the Simba Wachanga. Lastly, I went through a three-year training period to become a Sabata or a Sabiti, a student priest in the Mahatman tradition. During my entire tenure in US, the US organization, I was often assigned to Dr. Karenga's personal security. I state the above as a qualification for what I'm about to write. I write the following in the spirit of my heart and the truth embodied in it. I also write it as a matter of corrective history that has too long endured as lies. I too applaud Geronimo Pratt for his forthrightness and honesty in speaking truth about the US organization being an equal victim of COINTELPRO and dispelling the lies about any of its leadership being complicit with police agencies in any way. Let me just stop there, yeah? Because, yeah, Geronimo Pratt was a Black Panther member, and he's saying something completely I don't agree with, yeah? And some people don't agree with it, but maybe he's not seeing all the information and he's only seeing certain things. So I don't know why he wants to defend all of that stuff, right, with Maulana Karenga, the US organization, and Kwaanza. I don't know why, yeah? When he knows his brethrens got taken out by this same group. But what he's saying is, and what some people are trying to say and rationalizing and trying to justify and even try to legitimize all of this stuff, okay, is that it's all down to COINTELPRO. Well, COINTELPRO is just a program, yeah? You see what I'm saying? Yeah? So, you're going to tell me that some program forced Black people, yeah, to put a gun in their hand and to shoot their Black brothers when they're supposed to be conscious people. I'm not talking about people that's not conscious, just going around, ignorant. I'm talking about people that claim to know themselves, that have knowledge of themselves. They talk about liberating and helping their people and all this stuff, okay? Yeah? Right? We're not talking about poison letters here. We're not talking about slanging insults at each other. We're talking about taking people's lives out, yeah? So you can't rationalize that. You can't, just take that sort of stuff lightly, right? But anyway, he goes on to say, so I don't know what these people are talking about. They're just soft in their head, innit? You know what I'm saying? Because if it happens to your brother or something happens to your family, man, you know that. You know what time it is, innit? What's wrong with our people, man? Anyway, he goes on to say that, yeah, I feel, however, that it is equally important that Dr. Karenga be open and honest about the demise of the US organization between 1969 and 1971. For far too long, he has incorrectly asserted that members of the organization left him and that his jail time was served for trumped-up charges. Of course he's going to deny and he's going to lie and he's going to defend his reputation. Right? And then a person who's an agent or an informer or, a provocateur agent or an informer or spy or a patsy or a stooge, whatever, yeah? They're not going to tell you, are they? That's the last thing that's going to come out their mouth. They're going to die with that because they have to in some ways, yeah? Now, some people, in this case that we're talking about, some people actually did talk. Some agents talked before they died. That's why we know that some of this information is being collaborated and it's being corroborated, right? It's being corroborated by other people, agents, right? Anyway, it says it is my opinion that this is Wesley Kabbalah, a letter from Wesley Kabbalah, yeah, of the US organization, who was a member of the US organization, as you know. It goes on saying, it is in my opinion that one of the reasons it remains believable that Dr. Karenga is a police agent in some circles is because he has been dishonest about his involvement in the torture of two sisters, for which he served 4 years, and his current wife. I don't know why he's saying current wife. Anyway, Tamil served a stint also. I wish to state here unequivocally that, I think that is his current wife. Yeah, it's right. Yeah. Anyway, it says here, I wish to state here unequivocally that he and his wife not only tortured these two sisters for a period of over 3 weeks. Hear that? So when everybody's talking, even of all the information I looked at, nobody said this, yeah? He's the only one that said 3 weeks. The judge never said anything about 3 weeks in the report, right? Or whatever reports that there was. The mainstream media never mentioned anything about it. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that's been covered. Yeah? Anyway, it goes on to say that it says here, I wish to state here unequivocally that he and his wife not only tortured these two sisters for a period of over 3 weeks, but also directed 2 young brothers in the torture also. Prior to this period of torture, he also locked up his first wife, Habia, in a tiger cage that was housed in the garage of a home he leased in Inglewood, California. Dr. Karenga also hit on wives of some of his closest confidants, and I personally know one of one sister who is writing a book in which she asserts that he attempted to rape her. Now, those of us who still proclaim to be Kwaanza advocates can say that the pressures of COINTELPRO, the US Panther conflict, all contributed to this abhorrent behavior. But the fact is, there was evidence of this kind of behavior long before UCLA shooting, January the 19th, 1969. In fact, there are those I've talked to personally that state this behavior started in the Afro-American Association, which predated the US organization of 1965, when then Ron Karenga had an affair with his vice chair's wife. At that time, his vice chair was Hyam Palmer, who later became president of Marcus Garvey School here in LA. Many people will ask, why raise these issues now? For one, the truth of my heart demands it. Second, there are lessons about leadership that we should and must pass on to the next generation here. And most of all, there are victims who still need to be apologized to and atonement done by the victimizer. I had never heard of atonement before the Million Man March, for which Dr. Karenga authored the mission statement, which admonished black men to atone for their past treatment of women. My respect for Mr. Farrakhan was greatly enhanced when he took responsibility for his role in creating the atmosphere for the assassination of Malcolm. How could he ask us as black men to atone if he did not? The same principle applies to Dr. Karenga. My question is, how can Dr. Karenga continue to call himself a high priest of Mahat or master teacher when the very principle he writes about seemingly do not apply to him? In sum, I challenge those of us who still consider ourselves Kwaanza advocates to demand from Dr. Karenga an apology for the continued lying, which has affected the credibility of those of us who have defended him. But even more than that, he owes an apology and release to the sister he tortured and to her family, which was threatened if this kind of behavior, was threatened if she broke silence about her true torture, and release to the sister he tortured and to her family, which was threatened if she broke silence about her true torture. If we who consider ourselves revolutionary do not check and challenge this kind of behavior, then our revolution is not even worth fighting for. I respect and recognize Dr. Karenga for theoretical and practical contribution to our struggle, but that does not excuse his torture, tactics of young, they say young, 18 years old black women, lying about it to his followers or the masses, and the continuing cover-up of it. Although he has already been convicted and served the time, but just say, let's correct that. He served a little time that don't quantify the charges. Anyway, before writing this, I asked myself, what have I been fighting for all my life? If not to become a better African. I learned much of what I know about becoming a better African under the tutorage of Dr. Karenga, and I feel it is my responsibility to hold him to the same standard and principles that he write about for us. I spent all of my adult life as an advocate of Kwaanza and cultural nationalist, but not to see all reduced to lies and mistruths. We deserve more as a people, community, and as comrades in struggle for a high level of life and humanity, and I challenge those who disagree with me to state why we should demand less in unity and in struggle. End of story. Yeah? I agree. Okay? So basically, on that note, I'm out of here. I can't say anything more. I've got so much things I wanted to say, to comment on and stuff like that, but I've gone over my time. I tried to give you as much information as possibly can. There was a few other things that I could have gone through, but I'm sure you're getting the message. I don't want to kind of over-egg it. Yeah? And yeah, I want to pick up everybody for their time and their energy and for tuning in. And hopefully by next week, sometime, we'll try and get the phone lines up and running. Yeah? Good and proper, but I'm sure you just wanted to let me get on with it, yeah? At the same time, yeah? Just to let you know, just to give you an update, Auntie Jean's African Culture Market, just a quick public announcement before I'm going. Before I head out of there. Auntie Jean's African Culture Market will be on Sunday the 20th of January 2019 between the hours of 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. The venue is at Loughborough Centre, 105 Angel Road, Brixton, SW9, 7PD. And you can have several guests. For more information, by all means, like I said, there's going to be several guests there. Go to this number, 079 61 886 032 if you want more information. All right. Like I said, go to 079 61 886 032 for Auntie Jean's African Culture Market if you want to store or if you want more information. All right. So, with that being said, I'll just give you a few references. Yeah, I'll leave you a few references. But if you go to my YouTube channel, I'll have all the links available for you. And you can source information, take your time and examine, explore, investigate, research. It's bigger than just one organization. When you look at the bigger picture, do you get what I'm saying? All right? So it's not just about Maulana Karenga and the US organization, yeah, and Kwaanza. No, it's about every single one of the members of our community, okay, and how we address our problems and issues, how we address leadership, yeah, how we hold people to account, how we need to put recommendations in place, how we need to create our own security and intelligence, okay, how we need to check, fact check any information, how we need so much things that we need to do. I could go on and on, but I'm not. All right? So I want to say, look, let me just give you these links. All right? You can get the links for this document that I just read out, Kwanzaa a CIA creation to promote racial separation. There's there is references on it, yeah, that you will get. Okay, if I can find it somewhere in the back there somewhere. All right, so you can get this SLA is CIA and varied works of May Brussels. Remember I said to you go to May Brussels. The SLA, so what I'm saying is that information was pertaining to the SLA, okay? But it so happens that Maulana Karenga was just in the mix of it. It just so happens. Is it a coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. A lot of these things is not coincidence. Anyway, it goes on to say, you can go source out information. Agents of Repression by Ward Churchill and Jim van der Wall. The Glass House tapes by Lewis Tackwood. Now, Lewis Tackwood, if you heard, he's one of the agents, right? And basically, he validates the agents that's involved, that he's come into contact with, or he's affiliated with, associated, or whatever, right? You can go also to the Black Panther newspaper, September the 6th, 1969. Muhammad Speaks, November the 12th, 1971. Bitter Grain, Huey Newton and the Black Panther Party by Michael Newton. Frontpagemagazine.com, Happy Kwanzaa by Paul Muleshine. And The Ultimate Evil by Mari Terry. Right? And then you can also go for further references. You can go to YouTube, there's SLA Agents Provocateur and State-Sponsored Terrorists in Action. In fact, it will read out that document to you. You don't have to read it out yourself. If you want to, if you don't want to read, you can just get this information and it will just spell it out to you, yeah? You can go to also YouTube Part 2, which is SLA Part Riots and Revolution coming straight out of correction facilities. Okay? Also, you can go to www.marbrussels.com and go to articles. You can go to this article or essay called The Civil Rights Movement by Davron L. Baldwin, Trinity College. You can go to this very interesting YouTube video recently come out. A young brother produced it. Very interesting, called 31st and Central Black Panther Wakanda DVDs.com. Now you can only get it on YouTube, you can only watch it, but if you want to get that as part of your archives, okay, or your collection, then you better just buy the DVD, yeah? And lastly, you can go to the Black Agenda Report, BAR, Bruce Dixon, an ex-Black Panther member. And I think 41st and Central Black Panther it's actually produced by someone who's a son of a Black Panther, all right? Father, yeah? All right, so there it is, ample of information, yeah? I've given you the opportunity for you to make your own informed decision as to which way you want to weigh it up. It's up to you, yeah? I think anybody that knows Sraight know what I'm about, yeah? Right? And like I said, it's not that I'm against anybody. It's about having morals, principles, and ethics at the highest level of thinking and being. It's about being open and honest and not sweeping things underneath the carpet. All right? It's about resolving and having resolutions to solutions to resolving some of our problems and issues that tend to just get swept underneath the carpet, which we're good at doing, right? It's about creating our own, having our recommendations, holding people accountable for their actions and judging people for their actions, yeah? You see what I'm saying? Because you've got no other way. The only defense that you got, because we haven't got a security and intelligence, is our mouthpiece. It's only security and intelligence that we got, yeah? So to keep us shut and silenced about pedophiles, torturers, and black people who are devils in our community, rapists, and all these kind of sick people that we've got around, yeah? And then what they do, because they're not held accountable for their actions, okay? Yeah? They perpetuate the same wrongdoings, okay, with our own people in our community. These same people that claim that they're helping our community. And these same people that say they're helping our community are going around damaging our community, destroying and terrorizing the community. We have to expose them for what they are. And that's what it is, okay? If people don't like me, I'm just the same as this. I'm going to tell you straight up, okay? Anytime you hear me talking, no matter where I'm talking, yeah, okay? And if anybody thinks they're going to catch feelings with me and try and push my buttons and all of this, okay? I'm going to tell you straight, yeah? Right? I'm not here to massage people's egos, emotions, or personal issues, because I know that's what's going to be griping you, okay? If you're feeling pain, you brought that pain onto yourself. You brought that, you allowed that pain to enter your body and your mind. So cleanse your mind, cleanse your body, cleanse your heart, cleanse your soul, start fresh, refresh, yeah? And get away from the bad mind, the bad art, the cold-eyed kind of mindset, and those kind of people that generate a negative, destructive kind of energy, yeah? Why would you want to be around that? Yes, I'm saying, but we've got so much hypocrites. Not talking about, real talk, talking hypocrisy. Yeah, saying one thing but meaning something completely different. This is what's going on. Yeah, there's a lot of people that know how to talk. They talk eloquently. You know what I'm saying? They articulate. They're smooth. They're charismatic. They wear all the nice fancy garb. They dress well and all of this stuff. Okay, drive around in limousines, live in a mansion, and all of this stuff. Right, claiming to be our liberators. We've got to get real with some of our people, man. Some people out there, let's not play. They're faking it, right? From a long time ago. Yeah? All right? And these people are holding our people back, yeah? And, I'm going to talk about some different things next week in relation to us as a people, yeah? And show you a different side of why we need to change our behavior and the things that we're doing, yeah? And why certain things have to be exposed, all right? Cool. All right, so generally speaking, I want to say thank you all for taking the time to tune in. Like I said, go to Say Shara to get your update on what I am talking about on the late night show here on Genesis Radio. Interactive. www.genesisradio.co.uk. I want to big up my daughter who's having her Earth Day in a couple days' time on the 8th. Big up Samara. I want to big up my son as well on his birthday on that day as well. Dwayne Ash. I want to big up, yeah. I want to big up my other daughter whose birthday is going to be coming up quite soon. Sraight. So I want to big you all up. I want to big up Marsha. I want to big up all my cousins and family. I want to big up all my warriors out there and warriors. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And just, yeah. Always.